Fortnite, you're going to be speaking to me with a little more reverence and respect than you did prior to this.
If I try to play beyond the hype.
How come I'm getting like Fisher Price questions?
Guys, what's your favorite color? Greetings and welcome to the Supply Drop episode 62, a game podcast created by the McCoy, the Kirk, and the Spock of podcasts. My name is Nate. I'll be your host. I'm joined by two other co-hosts, the first of which is Scott.
Hello, everybody.
Scott, Thick and I are GameStop employees, and you are a customer.
Okay.
You come into our GameStop with a hardware-related questions, and it's regarding your wife's playing games. We want you to take it from the top and walk us through this.
Okay. I'll give
you know what I'm talking. You know what I'm referring to.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Like as if I wanted to buy a pre-owned PlayStation 5.
Well, if that's what happened, yes. Because when I'm reading your Discord, I don't understand what the problem you were solving was. So let's do it for listeners.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It wasn't really a problem. It was just I need to fill a gap. How about that? So my wife has Xbox.
I don't understand.
She plays everything on Xbox, and I'm on PC.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm paying for Xbox Ultimate, right? So I get PC Game Pass. She gets Game Pass. We share stuff. Mm-hmm. It's great,
right.
But over time, she plays more or less just free-to-play games. So she's not utilizing Game Pass at all, like zero.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She has the best taste, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
So
I know.
I'm finding that I'm not really using it a lot either. So I can just pay $10 a month for her to play multiplayer, or $10.99. But she's also got friends at work. All of her friends at work play on PlayStation 5. Okay, these are not like core gamers. These are
right.
People that go to like GameStop and stuff and go, what's the latest? Just give it to me.
Yeah.
So for them to go to Discord, go to your phone, that's not really gonna happen. It should be more like, okay, now I've got a PlayStation. What's your gamer tag or whatever, and then they're playing. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to shift a little bit away from Game Pass and get her something that she can play. We can play together, and we can play with our friends, and she can play with her friends at work. Plus,
I have a question though.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you. You definitely should be buying the disc version of our PS5. So me and Thick, thank you for that.
I didn't.
Right, and then we're gonna talk. You did not get that one. So we won't be seeing you a lot after this. But my question is, what games did she want to play that she wasn't able to?
It's not about the games. It's about playing with other people.
Ecosystem.
Right. Now, me and us and probably the people that are listening to the podcast, you're thinking it's like, oh, well, I mean, if it's cross-play, you can just do A, B, and C, right? Well, you're right. But when you're trying to talk to other people and get them to play with you, and they don't know about those things, and they don't know how to do those things, right? You want to make it as easy as possible. So, I'm looking at it on the outside, and I'm just going, wow, this is complicated. Because when they start asking, it's like, well, how do I play with this other person if I'm on this other game? And how do I do? And I'm like, if you don't know these basics, I don't know really how to tell you how to do that. And this is not my wife. This is the people that she's, wanting to play with.
Yeah.
So I bought her a PlayStation 5. I went and I got, I first went to GameStop, and I thought this might be where you're going. So I walked in. I said, hey, do you have a used or a pre-owned PlayStation 5 digital version?
How much was it?
And they said, yes, we do. We have one at our location, like across the street. I'm like, okay, great. How much is it? And she said it's $509.99. And I said, why?
What?
Yeah. And she said, well, that's how much it costs. I'm like, no, it doesn't. And it's retail. It's $399.99. She goes, but this is pre-owned. And I said, yeah, so it should be less.
Yeah.
And she said, and I'm like, why are you charging me more than retail value if it's used? And she said, sir, I don't make the prices. This is what this is. And and you could tell she didn't say it like, I don't know. She said it like, I only make the prices. I don't know.
They weren't bundling anything in with that?
Nothing.
Yeah, that's really odd.
Nothing. It was.
She's a great GameStop employee. We aspire to be as good as Sheila
I know,
one day.
right? She's making money from nothing, like out of the air, because you can. I found a pre-owned one somewhere else for less, and so anyway, that's. I don't even know why I went to GameStop for that reason anyway, but what it does is it's not so much that my wife is able to play like God of War. I mean, and Spider-Man. Right. She doesn't care about that stuff. It feels Scott, like that pie chart of people that just buy whatever's the greatest and latest and whatever.
You don't have to lie to us. We understand. I understand the real reason. Thick, do you understand the real reason why you bought a PS5?
Last of Us multiplayer?
No. There's a Marvel game coming out soon. Scott is a big fan of Marvel games.
That is true. That is very true.
Scott has a huge Spider-Man back tattoo, and he's getting it. He's getting it over his front.
I'm inked from here down of just the costume.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like a completely Venom costume.
It is. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
A lot of ink. It took forever.
That's right.
Hurt.
It's costly.
Some places hurt more than others. No, this is not for me at all. It's in her gaming rig, and but I did buy a controller, and I bought the controller first.
The black one, the Venom one.
Yeah, I got a used one. I got a really good price, so I went ahead and bought one because I'm just like that, and. The only game I have that actually utilizes anything on it is Spider-Man Miles Morales on Steam. So I loaded that up and played with it, and it works great. It is a really good controller. I was really impressed how good it felt over the PS4 controller, which I would hit with a hammer if I didn't have just the one left. And the haptic stuff didn't really add anything to what I was playing, but it is kind of neat. Some of the stuff is neat. And I did play, what is it, Astro 3D?
Astro's Playroom?
Thank you, yeah. I did play that to kind of get a feel for what to expect.
That's supposedly the showcase. That's the showcase for the Rumble.
Yeah, and it does have some really interesting stuff with it, and it's fun. So so I gave this to my wife. She didn't know I was buying her a PS5. So I gave the controller to her, and I was like, oh, by the way, I bought this PS5 controller. This is mine. Check it out. And she picked it up and she was like, oh, I could totally use that. I'm like, okay, done. So I didn't want to get this thing and then, hand it off to her and she'd be like, I don't like this,
Right.
So, right. So win-win. So she gets to play with, her friends easily and fine. We still get to play together. And I'm all in all, I'm not really saving any money, but I'm also not paying for something that we're not using. So I'm paying for her PlayStation multiplayer account, and I'm paying for her Xbox, and it's still the same amount of money for me, and so we're good.
Well, she should come on the podcast and balance out this lopsided, 2 green, 1 blue.
Right.
It should be 2 on 2. Yeah.
Although Scott's slowly converting, right?
Well, it's like
I'm what's the color of PC?
Gray. It's gray or silver.
Silver?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm silver.
One of those two.
I mean, I bought a PlayStation 5. I set it up. I put it in there. I have no desire to play it whatsoever. I don't.
Oh boy.
It is not.
All right.
PCMR.
Miles Morales at 130 frames per second is way better than 60. So.
Okay, we're gonna stop. We're gonna. What's that hook? Remember when they would dance on stage and there was a hook would come out? We're gonna do that to Scott right now. Vic, I do have a question for you this week.
Yes.
Roughly 1 year ago, I asked both of you what your favorite horror/Halloween movie was. You said it was Hereditary, if I do recall correctly.
Hereditary, yes.
Hereditary.
That's a good one.
Yeah, okay.
Messed up.
I want you to give me an elevator pitch on it because I feel like I'm diving into some Halloween movies now, and sell the movie to me. Why is it the best?
Okay, so it feels very personal because it's basically around the family.
Yeah.
But it just it has some. It feels realistic, and then as it starts to get a little bit more surreal, it gets very. I don't know how you say it. Like maybe I wouldn't say mysterious necessarily, but ominous. Like you just
Yeah.
know something's wrong. And then there's like this climax and that whole scene. You're just kind of on the edge because it's very like beautiful cinematography. Like
Uh-huh. Yeah.
just like how they ramp up like the intensity, and they're not showing much, and that's the thing. And then like the reveal, it's very like heartfelt, but then like
Okay.
there's a ton of just stuff that just kind of happens. I'm not very good at explaining this, anyways. But
No, you did good. What I guess I feel like most like horror movies are just like kind of like cheap slasher.
yeah, I would say
no real
it's
substance to it. This is not like that. There's some
this kind
substance to
of
it.
etches like it's like a ice pick in your brain, little, and they're slowly just tapping
Okay.
in.
Yeah,
Okay.
it
That's
doesn't.
why I was just
It doesn't hold your hand either. Like it doesn't like just hand you the story.
yeah.
Okay.
You kind of have to piece it together as you go.
Okay.
And they're also, if I'm, I've only watched it once, but like toward the end, I think there's like the soundtrack has like a layer of like low frequency hum or something that some movies are using now that give it like more tension.
That might be it. Maybe that's one of the things. I know there's tons of like little hidden things in the movie that really makes it even more creepy.
Little Kubrick-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't
So
like
it
that
pays
movie.
to watch it more than once.
I would say so because I want to go back and watch it. I didn't like it. I didn't like that movie. I watched it and I'm like, I don't like this movie. I didn't like it at all. And then, but the more I thought about it,
Oh, really?
and it started to just kind of like, oh, okay. So maybe if maybe I should look at it like, in any movie that you walk away from thinking, even if you don't like it, if it sticks with you and you take it with you, then that's a good movie. That's a good story.
Yeah. I know he has what is it? Midsummer, which is a little bit more in your face. It kind of gives you like most of the plot, like in just the trailer. This Hereditary doesn't do that. Like it just, like I said, slowly picks at your brain, just like chips away at like ice, and you just find the ice sculpture at the end, kind of thing.
Okay. No, well done, Thick. Well done.
Yeah.
Since we're on the subject, can I suggest a movie for
Sure.
your
Sure can.
for your okay?
Like he escaped from behind the curtains. He's out.
I have to
Go ahead, go
find.
ahead.
I have. There's two of them. And I make sure I got the name right. But so my wife and I watched this movie. And I gotta find it because I can never remember the name of it. Yeah, this is the movie that we watched recently called The Endless, and these two guys made it. But I'm going to tell you, as soon as I find it, there is a movie you have to watch first. They are not necessarily related, but if you watch the first one and then watch the next one and realize that I think this is like almost 8 years between the movies, it's going to just blow your mind. And I'm going to give you something right here. Come on. This is the same people that made like Synchronic, Something in the Dirt, that kind of thing. And sorry, I'm just like side showing the whole podcast here, but I'll find it in a minute. I'll give it to you by the end of the show.
Okay.
But it is as far as like horror movies, it's kind of like Midsummer, where it's just it ramps up. It's not like a big secret or anything, but it just gets weirder and weirder and weirder and starts just getting more psychological. And I like scary movies like that. I don't like, jump scares are fun, but when it starts to make you think and then wonder where that movie is going to go, then then it starts getting kind of crazy.
Okay. All right. And what was it called? It was called The Endless?
The Endless.
Yes.
Right.
And what was the previous movie called? What was the one you have to watch?
You'll
That's
let
what
us
that's
know,
what I'm
right?
trying to find, because I'm trying to find
okay.
the actual director that did it.
All right.
Wait, so do you guys remember, or there was a movie this year, I think it was Winnie the Pooh? What?
The
Oh, yeah,
horror
it's-
movie.
Yeah. You guys haven't seen it, right?
No, I don't think I want
Okay.
to watch that. No.
I've seen the movie trailer. Have you seen it?
I have. I haven't seen the movie, but it's just like maybe eventually when it's like on streaming. But I see like there's actually a game trailer of some sort that's like Winnie the Pooh related. It just came up today. I haven't looked at it.
So is there that what is that one legal thing where once a property is like 100 years old, you're allowed
It's
to?
a thing. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
basically expired.
Yeah.
Right.
It becomes public domain or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that might be Winnie the Pooh right now.
It is.
That's Winnie the Pooh right
Yep.
now.
And
Yeah.
also I think the original Mickey Mouse, like the Steamboat Mickey Mouse, is coming up to that as well. They can't renew that, so that'll
They
be,
cannot.
So we're I guess we're getting the sequel. Mickey,
Oh
Texas
yeah, that'll
Chainsaw
happen.
Mickey. I don't know. But the first movie is called Resolution.
Resolution.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it is. It's also it's well written. It's actually kind of humorous too, but it gets really really crazy. And then when you watch that, then just go watch The Endless.
The Endless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
All right.
Can
Halo
I share
Infinite.
this trailer as well?
Of course.
yeah.
So wait, repeat the name of the movie again. Sorry, I was distracted by this trailer. It's
Resolution.
Resolution. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna share this trailer. It's called A Winnie's Hole. It just released like today.
You're not gonna get
Oh,
like banned
no.
from YouTube, are you?
This is.
Well, we're not gonna play it on the thing, are we?
I refuse to click on that. I'm not clicking on that.
Okay. Yeah, but it's on IGN. You guys
Yeah.
can check it out later.
Okay. Yeah. We'll check.
Oh,
it
okay.
out.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
Okay. Let's move forward.
All right. Before we get started with this podcast proper, I want to remind listeners they can drop us a comment, question, or preferably an insult at the Supply Drop Podcast YouTube channel.
100%.
All right.
Yes.
Scott, why don't you tell everyone, including me and Thick, how your week went?
My week was family oriented and very work oriented. So yeah. So other than getting a PS5, setting that up, and having that experience, I didn't get to play a whole lot. But after getting the PlayStation 5 set up, I have to say, setting up both consoles, the Xbox and the PlayStation. The Xbox is way easier. It is just very easy to set up, especially if you already have an account. On both of them, already had an account, and just
Yeah, actually, I remember that too. Because it's just a QR code, and if you use
It
the
is.
app, it
Yeah.
works very well.
yeah, it just goes. Is it new? Yeah. Is it yours? Yeah. You want your stuff on it? Yeah. And then you just wait, and then it's done.
You're good.
Yeah. PlayStation, everything I did kind of ran into. Wait a minute, now you don't have internet. I'm like, yeah, I'm connected to internet. Okay, now you have internet. No, now you need to connect to. I was just having issues just throughout the whole process, and it wasn't as it's not intuitive. I'm just going to say that it's not as intuitive.
Wow.
I don't think that the interface on PlayStation 5 is as intuitive as the brand new version on Xbox. Xbox is when you turn it on and it goes to your screen, everything is there. You don't have to push a button. You don't have to do anything. There's your games. There's all the stuff at the top that you could possibly want to do. And then you hit the Xbox button and it gives you more options. That's it. Yeah. With the PlayStation 5, it's kind of like you're going up and down and over, and then you hit the button to get another menu and go down to the bottom, and then you've got stuff that either you want to use or don't want to use. It's a little more customizable, but I prefer the Xbox interface, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I agree with the PS5 UI being more customizable.
Well,
actually, in the
maybe not
compared
more
to the
than
newer one.
Yeah, not more customizable than Xbox. Yeah, maybe you're right. I shouldn't say it that way, but it's more customizable than the PS4.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yes.
because you've got some things like, I don't use that, get rid of it, or move this over here and get rid of that. But yeah, I think the PS4 interface is good. I don't think it's their best one, but I kind of wish
think
they
it's
had
better
just,
than PS5.
Yeah, I wish they had just kind of built on that. So, introducing that to someone that's never used one before makes it a little more difficult, to maneuver. And having a speaker on the controller is a little annoying because
I agree.
Yeah, it's got a microphone and a speaker on the controller, which means if you leave the mic on, or if you We had an issue with like, okay, you've got a headset plugged in, but it doesn't want to use the mic on the headset. It wants to use the one on the controller. Okay, so now go mute the one on the controller. Okay, now you don't have a mic. Okay, unplug your headset, plug it back up. Okay, now it sees it that you have a mic on your headset. Now it uses it. Now it sounds terrible. Why does it sound terrible? Unplug it, plug it back up. Okay, now it sounds better. These things we just shouldn't. This is the third year of this console. These things should be very intuitive and easy to do. And it just didn't seem like it was as thought out as Xbox. It's like, hey, you using the headset? Yes, done. Click, plug it in, you're ready to go. So, but, with saying that, getting into a game and just doing the everyday stuff once you get it set up seems to be perfectly fine. So... Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's my.
I guess the more UIs you have to kind of learn, the more annoying.
Yeah.
The more
UIs can be.
Yeah, and especially if it's like, okay, so I really like that interface, and then you go to a different one because in my profession I use a lot of different interfaces.
Yeah.
And some of them I go and I've never seen them before in my life, and I have to navigate them. So it's not like I'm someone that's just like, oh, I'm an old man, I don't know what to do. No, I deal with it all the time. So
right.
Being new to it, it could be a little better, I think.
Yeah, it's not terrible. It could be better.
Yeah, I mean it's not. Yeah. It's manageable and it's fine, but it just some minute things could be a lot better. Like that menu down at the bottom. Why not just have that as a menu? On your screen. You've got plenty of dead space on the screen. Just put the little menu down at the bottom. That way you don't have to hit a button, move all the way, just little things like that. But, other than that, she played some DMZ on it. It played fine. And, that's pretty much it.
Does she play with, does she play with those control freaks that extend the sticks?
No, but she does use there's some rubber ones. I don't know who makes them. I was telling Thick this.
Yeah, we were talking about this.
They have a skull on them. I thought they might be Skull Candy, but once I looked at it, it's not their logo. It just has a skull on it. So it's probably just something I got on, Amazon. But they're pretty comfortable.
Right. When I pick up a controller that doesn't have those now, I'm like, what is wrong with this controller?
I know. Let's see if I can show you. That's what they look like.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're just like a rubberized, foot that goes on them. So I put some on mine. Right. It does feel better.
Not too thick, right? They don't change the
They don't really change
the
the height. They change the roundness of that's lacking in the that you have on Xbox, but you don't have on PlayStation. I've never really liked their sticks. I never understood why they have that little lip around the edge and then have it bubbled up in the middle. That seems to be backwards.
Yeah, it's the opposite of Xbox.
Right.
But I was telling you, I have complaints about the Xbox controller too. The sticks, like if you use them a lot, the little diamond texture around the stick just wears
they wear
down
out really quick. Yeah. Well, that's another reason why I get those little rubber things. But I do like I do prefer the buttons on the PlayStation 5 because they are a little flatter. And when you're button pressing a lot, it's just more comfortable. The Xbox, they're more rounded.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're hitting like X and A, you're probably hitting that A right under your knuckle. And if you have to do that a lot, back and forth, it's just a little irritating.
Yeah.
So
not sure if I prefer either or.
Yeah,
probably I like the rounder one.
I think Razer makes the best controller buttons. They're optical and they're super snappy and click and super
optical,
responsive.
Meaning you press them with your eyes.
Yes, you just have to look at them. Yeah,
I'm with you. Yeah. All right. Very, very nice. Very nice, Scott.
Thanks.
Thick, why don't you tell us how your week went?
It's kind of the same. It's kind of ramping up at work. So throughout the week, I didn't get too much gaming in. I get a little bit of Overwatch, a little bit of Diablo, a little bit of Starfield, and the kind of new thing I probably picked up. And well, let's talk about it. We played co-op yesterday, Scott and I.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. Heroic difficulty.
Yeah,
heroic.
Yeah. I think we were talking about like how Halo Infinite's campaign's somewhat underappreciated. I know it's not perfect. It's definitely not perfect.
No.
But there's a lot of things they did that just kind of like brings it back to form, especially from the previous two titles. Like they really took the feedback about, not being like the older Halos, and then like they added it back to the game. Like the Warthog in 4 and 5 never felt like completely great. Like it just felt off. But in Infinite, it feels close to the original. I mean, I still feel a little bit of like 343's style of steering, but it's like almost there. Like maybe even further tweaking, they'll keep doing it. And there's one thing I really like about 343 is the way they experiment with the weapons. There's so many different variations of the same weapon that I that's something I never saw in a Bungie game. Do you know what I mean? Like since 5, they have variations of the sniper rifle. Like just all they do is like adjust certain parameters, and it just feels completely different.
Oh. Like what? The number of bullets you have in a chamber?
Yeah, like say like a sniper rifle, like instead of being like kind of like bolt action, it's almost like a semi-auto, like faster rate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, things like that.
Yeah, something that would probably be improved over that time span of, military hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking.
I just had a revelation. It's not very often one has a revelation live on a podcast, right?
Okay.
So Scott's
Joe
complaining
Rogan
about
it.
the UI. He's complaining about the UI, and now Thick is like, you're not complaining, but you're kind of complaining about like the feel of like certain vehicles. And I'm like, I never have this problem like about like, gun feel. Like I don't care about it. I just realized why.
Yeah.
So I play games like I dive into essentially one game, and I stick to that game until I'm done with that game, and then I put it in the past. I always feel like I think you and Scott might be jumping from game to game a lot more than I do it.
We do it a lot more.
Yeah. I know.
So
I do.
I feel like when you do that, you care more about gun feel. Like if you go from Destiny to a shooter to a different shooter to a different shooter, and then you're back to Destiny, you instantly feel the differences between the games, right?
Yeah, I think that's part of the like I think I made this comment before, but like a different game is kind of like a different song in the same genre sometimes, and you start to pick out the little nuances.
Yeah.
And then that's how you kind of almost appreciate it in some ways, and kind of how like what you like, what you don't like.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like being in a bad relationship or a good relationship.
Yeah.
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 It's like
I know.
Halo 5 would broke up. It's terrible. Never want to talk to Halo 5 again. And,
After 500 hours.
Right. Right. After I completed
I know.
it.
I'll click on like a Forza Motorsport threads, and you'll have like the fanboys who are like, Gran Turismo feels better or Forza feels better, and I'm like, this is the most insane conversation I've ever had, because you just play one of them and you just get used to the feel of the cars in the one.
Yeah.
Like, when you're going back and forth between the two games, then the feel is like, okay, this one I really feel the differences. Which I'm just repeating what you just said, but maybe I don't. Maybe you're not as crazy as I once thought. You gun feel people.
Well, there's a lot more games than there used to be. It used to. I know that's like the biggest game of the year, and then you play the crap out of it for 6 or 7 months. So you get used to that feel, and then when you go to a new game, it's like, oh, this is really weird. But yeah, you're right. Yeah. You get used to it. So jumping from game to game wasn't like every couple of days. It was more like weeks and months.
Right.
So
I honestly, I have thought like, I have to reference Fortnite in every podcast that we do. I'm like, why don't new games just literally map the Fortnite control scheme onto their games, and then if you have to do a variation of that, you can do it. Because I can't stand like, okay, R1 is grenade on one game, and then like circle is grenade on another game, and then like a different button is grenade on another game.
Yeah.
Just everyone should have a universal mapping, and then
I think companies are pretty good about that these days.
Call of Duty does that.
I'm close.
Yeah. Well, even in Halo, the Master Chief Collection, when you play one game and say you change your control scheme, right? You can actually set. Do you want to set this off for all the games? And you say yes, and then that way it sets for any Halo game that you play within that collection. It has that control scheme. But no, I think you're right. I think that if what I don't remember what I played recently, but it was like it was something goofy, like press A, like A was throw a grenade or something like that. So every time I went to jump, it's like, what Why am I throwing a grenade? Those things, sometimes those are just like, what are you thinking? Like, you know that every other game that anybody's ever played, A is jump, or A is pick something up, So, I see what you're saying with that, but I don't know if Fortnite's really the template we want to go.
No, it is because it's the biggest game. It's the biggest game in the last 10 years.
Well, I give you that, but I mean, you have different controller schemes, right, in Fortnite.
Yeah, you do. You do.
Do you? Okay, because I know you.
But I guess I think there's a controller scheme that just it obviously is the standard, and then if you really care about it, then you go switch.
Are you using
into
the
something
default?
else? But
Like, are you using just the regular?
No, I'm not. No, I would go on all those pro. I would go on all those pro websites, and they'd be like, "No, this is how you have to do it."
Yeah.
This gives you the biggest advantage. So that's what I do.
Too. Yeah.
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 What are the Halo, people using, back in 2007? It's like, I'm using Jumper Bumper or whatever it was. Yeah.
Right. Or like, do you know Armored Core players use I think is it the claw? It's like they turn the controller around and put it upside down, and then they have like their more buttons.
Oh my God. Yeah. I've seen that. I've seen somebody play like that, and I'm just like, you have maybe a year left of playing games, period, before you can't write your name anymore. Stop it.
Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to jump into what I did this week, okay? Can I jump in?
Yeah.
Guys, I experienced the curve of blah. You want to know what the curve of blah is?
Sure.
It's when you play a new single player game, and this curve of blah happens everywhere. First 5 hours, fun. Next 5 hours, okay, and then next 5 hours, you're like, why am I playing this?
Yeah.
So that happened to me with Cyberpunk, right?
Yeah.
All its warts kind of revealed themselves to me after 5 to 10 hours. I say this every week whenever I play a new game. I don't understand how this is a 9 out of 10 game. I don't understand how like people are like, this is like the premiere. This is what the vision of the game always was. If this is the vision of the game, you have no vision as a game creator, right?
Keep going.
I looked it up. 32% completion rate, unacceptable. You're garbage. If you have a 32% completion rate, you make me so angry, and you should feel bad about yourself. I'm gonna explain one mission to you, and then I guess in general the AI in this game is atrocious. The fact that reviewers aren't crushing this game for the most pathetic AI is like astounding to me. It's like it's a core component of the combat, and it's Halo Combat Evolved came out in 2001, I think. Way better AI than this game.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know how this is not like a huge, docket 3 points right off the bat for this AI.
Yeah.
I'm not thick. How did you feel about that when you're playing the game?
It's been a while since I've actually gone through Cyberpunk. I re-downloaded it. I booted up. I made like a different starting story or whatever, but I didn't go too far, so I can't really say much. But I would say that honestly, I feel a lot of games like AI is just not that good, and I just kind of accept it. Until until AI in a game just like blows me away, then this is just like, I don't know. I feel bad for saying, but it's just like status quo. This is status quo. Right?
Yeah. I almost think that this is not status quo. Like this didn't even reach status quo to me.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. I know. I'll walk down the street and you'll see a cop and he's just walking in circles, like glitching with his head. I'm like, oh, this is the polished version of Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
He's just doing a 3-foot circle, and then you walk past them. But I do want to explain one mission to you that pissed me off to no end. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Tell me if you guys remember this one. So there's like you have like a little companion. His name is Takamura. He's like the bodyguard of the early bad guy.
Yeah.
I like that guy too. He's one of the more interesting characters.
Yeah.
He says, meet me on top of this like building. We're going to scout out tomorrow's mission. We're going to, look at it. We're going to talk about what you're going to do and then what I'm going to do to help you through the mission. So you walk up this building, you got to listen to him talk for like 2.5 hours. That's what it feels like. Like just listening to him talk for 2.5 hours. Then you have to lean against a post. And then he says, okay, look over here. Start scanning stuff. And then I'll explain it to you. Then it becomes essentially a visual novel. It's a visual novel where I'm just spending hours of my life being like, scan this water tank. He's going to tell me how the water tank he's going to release the water in the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm comparing it. I'm comparing it to maybe multiplayer games where you can actually scout out parts of levels with another human player, and you have an interaction with actual sentient living being. To me, this is just like such a crap version of like the real thing that it just makes me angry. But again, this is a 9 out of 10 game, right? So I just don't get it.
It's story. It's, you know,
Oh,
Yeah,
it's so much story. It's so much story.
It's overlaid with story, and that's one of the complaints that I had. That's not the game we were sold. I mean, to me, that's not the game that, you know, it was like the living, breathing city that you're going to be able to do this and that, and you don't get to do anything. You can't go 5 seconds without somebody sending you a message. Hey, you need to go do this, or you need to find this, or the other main character is like, hey, I'm calling. It's time to meet at this thing. You know, it's just it's. I'm glad you pointed that out, because I'm also created a new character. I've been playing through, and I'm trying to get to. There's a point where you can play the new DLC Story. Phantom Liberty, right? Yeah. Which the more I play, the more I'm like, I don't know if I want to get this DLC. But I'm also playing Starfield at the same time, right? And everybody's comparing this game. Okay, but I'll give you a scenario. I walk in an alley, there's a bunch of bad guys there, right? So one of them's like attacking a woman. So I punch him. Well, he goes in attack mode, right? And I bring out my gun. What do the other guys do behind him? They stand there and shoot at me. One guy runs from left to right in the middle of an alley, so I just shoot all of them. And that's all they did, you know?
You didn't have to think about your choice.
No, there was nothing to, I mean, yeah, I could have like scanned one of them's, cybernetics and, you know, made his head like fry or done this. But it was just more easy to just pull out a pistol and go pop, 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 and they're all dead.
Right.
Because they didn't take cover. They didn't move. They didn't like, you know, you shoot 4 of them dead. The 5th one doesn't go, oh, crap, and start running off.
Yeah.
You play have the same scenario in Starfield. You go into a base. There's like 5 or 6 enemies just standing around. 2 of them are talking. You know, hey, did you eat my sandwich? No, I didn't eat yours. For the last time, I didn't eat your sandwich. You know, so and then you attack one of them. One of them starts running upstairs to get a high ground. Another one jumps behind a desk that I didn't even see the guy. He came out later. The 2 that are arguing, of course, are standing because they're stunned. I shoot them and kill them. Another guy is running toward me with a shotgun. So
way more interesting engagement.
Way more interesting engagement and way better AI. Not perfect AI, you know, because the guy behind the desk, eventually when I got the guy above me, and then he just like popped up and started shooting me. But a random encounter that was different than the previous one. In Cyberpunk, every group of enemies I run into, if they don't do something weird cybernetically, it's the same. It's the same thing. It's the same. And they just stand there and shoot.
And also, Scott, if they do something like, I actually think the fiction of Cyberpunk is really cool because you can do anything you want. Just like that's such a interesting like canvas to work from. All the interesting bad guys just do that little like I shake and I move real fast. Yeah. Like I'm over here, and I'm like okay, cool the first time you see it, and then it's like I guess every like higher level bad guy does that, right?
Yeah, and if you got a shotgun, you just kind of like point in front of you and wait till he jumps.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Ow, that hurt."
Yeah, and then
There are some more like brute heavy ones. I think like some bosses.
There are, but they fight the exact same way.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And I just the more I'm playing, even with the new 2.0, the more I just remember what I don't like about that game. And you're right. It's like it's just you hit like it's the story element every 5 seconds, and I don't know why everybody's like this is game of the year again, and Starfield is crap.
No.
Starfield is you can actually get in your ship, fly to another planet, land somewhere, find someone on a base, and them go, hey, can you help me for a second, and then spend 5 hours doing all kinds of crazy stuff in that one quest that you just happen to find that maybe you can talk to 20 people and they never found that.
Right.
You know, it's I don't know. It's just frustrating.
Yeah, the comparison isn't really like good. Like there's no point in really comparing.
Yeah, it's not the same kind of game.
Not the same type of RPG. Yeah.
No.
I mean, I feel like Cyberpunk is more of a less of an RPG, more of an action adventure or action shooter.
Yeah, it is. It's actually more story driven, and you do have choices that change the game to some extent.
Oh, here's what I don't like about that, Scott. I don't like about that because when I'm making choices, I don't know what I'm changing and what I'm not changing because the game just throws new stuff at you.
I think that's part of the CDPR charm, right? Because like there's a little ambiguity. Like there's no right or wrong. It's just consequences.
Right.
That's how
But
they kind of
I
handle
never,
it.
Yeah.
I never feel like, oh, I made this choice, therefore I got this consequence.
It's
like-
it's not always like there's not always like
No,
very
it's so
big branching paths from what I understand.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did
But,
it
like,
better in Witcher 3.
Really?
They just did it.
Yeah,
better.
they might have.
Yeah, there's a guy that was tied to a post, and he's like, the villagers tied me to a post. And I'm like, well, that's what a bunch of jerks. I'll let him go. 20 hours later in the game, he comes walking out of a village, him and his buddies, like, hey, this is the guy that was telling you about. He saved me. Yeah, I just killed everybody in this village. We had a blast. I'm like,
Yeah.
So you barely let somebody
Did
go.
you kill him afterwards?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, but I mean, you let like Hannibal Lecter loose and didn't know it. You thought you were doing something good. I didn't come across anything like that in Cyberpunk 2077. I didn't feel like anything that I did or anything that any of the choices that I made did impact my story, and I guess I got a good ending. But all in all, I didn't see the alternative. So Nate, is that what you're saying? It's like you make a decision and you go with it, but Witcher 3 was very good about showing you that maybe that wasn't the right choice.
Yeah. Because Scott, you're saying
you seem to ever do that.
Yeah, you're saying you got the good ending, and I'm like, this is like a Naughty Dog linear story.
There's multiple endings. Yeah, there are
I think
choices.
there's at least 6.
Yeah.
There's at least 6.
Yeah.
I guess maybe if I looked up all 6, then I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting. But the fact that they don't present it in a way that makes you feel like, okay, this is fun if I go this route. This is fun if I go this route.
Yeah. In Witcher 3, I feel like you it's like, whoa, I'm glad I made that decision because I see now that would have been bad had I done that. In Cyberpunk, it just really doesn't ever show you that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Truly
quick thing,
go ahead.
Nate.
Go ahead.
What other games with this sort of kind of like pick your own path kind of thing have you played? Like,
Choose your own
Mass Effect or...
I thought about this a little bit because the game really does present to you like, okay, you can go, you have to quote unquote infiltrate this nightclub, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The main door is locked. You don't have enough door punching points to get through it.
Yeah.
Look 6 feet to your left. There's a window. Oh my gosh, the window is open.
Yeah.
Oh, go in the window. That to me is like, might as well just be a Naughty Dog game at this point. If the choices are that boring. So I'm thinking like, what is a game that actually does it right? Now I would say Fortnite has like brilliant choices, but I'm not gonna bring that up a second time in the podcast. I thought of Hitman, the Hitman games.
Yeah, that's a good
Hitman games
one.
do a much better job of like, if I make this choice, then I have a whole new set of options, right?
Yes.
Like if I put on the cook's outfit, I can go explore the kitchen for a bit, and then I can like poison the guy, right? Cyberpunk is like it just feels like they just like threw things together at the end because their timers running up with their budget,
Yeah, but I'm talking more of the narrative part. Like where it picks your narrative.
I'm assuming Baldur's Gate 3 does this better, but I haven't played it.
But
I
like,
would say so,
what
yeah.
have you played? That's what I'm wondering.
I have played Baldur's Gate 2. I have played that a long time ago. I'm trying to think though.
Did you play Mass Effect or?
No, I never played Mass Effect.
I got everybody killed.
That's a good question. I feel like I could. What is it? What are some games with like narrative choices?
The Walking Dead, Tall Tale games.
I never played those.
Those are barely games.
Yeah, they're actually, that's the main focus. Although I feel like
Yeah.
it doesn't have as much choices, but it's also a smaller scale game.
Yeah.
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 I guess because they present the story in like this way, and they're so clearly giving you dialogue options that I'm just like, okay, it's obvious that they want this part of the game to be fun because this is where the money went, this is where the resources went, and I'm like, I'm not having fun with what they're presenting me,
Yeah.
I feel like if I did think about it, maybe I could give Thick a better answer than that, but it's funny. I feel like maybe 15 years ago, a lot of people were like, all right, we're starting to get choices in games, right? And then like after Mass Effect maybe fizzled out, after Mass Effect 3, people are like, yeah, people don't really want these narrative choices, or it's too hard to make, But
Well,
Baldur's Gate 3
that
seems to be
ending-
doing
Oh,
it.
Baldur's Gate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let me ask you this, Scott. Does Starfield have narrative choices that are certainly more interesting than this?
I believe so. I haven't
believe so?
finished the main campaign, but you do have
Yeah.
you do have choices, and a lot of it really is your dialogue. Like there's some situations that you can just talk your way out of it, and you bypass everything. You know, with Cyberpunk, I feel like, oh, well, you can do A, B, C, and D. No, it's really just easier to just go in there and blow everybody away.
Yeah, I know.
And
I know.
seems, and you get more loot, and you bypass.
Scott,
a lot
I
of
love
dialogue.
stealth. I love stealth in games. I always choose the stealth
yeah.
option.
Thief,
This game
yeah.
essentially did not give me a stealth option because it's so effective at just shooting everything.
Yeah,
I'm like, why am I gonna
Right.
waste my time doing stealth when it's just like I can be done with this in 30 seconds.
Yeah, and
you
the
know?
stealth options are not really that interesting. I mean,
That
to me,
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't go that route on that. I usually go that route on everything, but on this,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
why? I got it. This shotgun that's like one hit kills everybody. I'll just go in and,
Right.
done deal. Yeah. So
Yeah. All right.
I'm glad somebody's
We got to get
having
into the
same
news.
experience.
Yeah. Yeah. We got to jump into the news. Scott,
What?
tell us about the news.
Jim Ryan is retiring from Sony.
Oh.
Yeah.
This
I know.
is the
See,
big
that's what you
story.
think, right? I know. everyone's
This
like,
podcast is over. This podcast is over. I'm done. I'm out of here.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yeah,
Scott, tee this one up for us though.
well, I went to anytime something like this happens, I get out my tinfoil hat and I put duct tape all over the windows, but this time everybody was freaking out, and I just want to read something from one of my favorite news sources, BBC.
It's not Trier, is it? It's
I
not
was gonna
Trier.
say Forbes, but
Yeah, no.
It's Bloomberg, which is
no.
it's the same as Forbes.
is it now?
Let's see. Well, basically, PlayStation boss Jim Ryan retired from Sony next year. But the Business Insider had some quotes that he had said, and this makes a lot of sense. And this kind of like, if anybody's in a job that's very similar to what he does, then you probably know this. But he's leaving after 30 years. Next year he'll work there for 30 years. He lives in Britain. He lives in the UK, but he spends like several months in the US and several months in Japan. So he kind of breaks up his time. And I want to quote, because this is something that I think has changed a lot of people, probably for the better. But it says the 63-year-old told Dave Smith in November 2020 that the COVID-19 pandemic put his busy lifestyle on standby, which was a liberating realization for him. And he says, I don't think I'm performing that differently from when I was traveling here, there, and everywhere. I think that there's a huge learning, and I think I'm not alone in that. He also said that working from home allowed his employees to have a little extra time to richen their lives. So here's somebody that's in that position, has recognized that, jet setting all over the place and doing a lot of this stuff, it takes a toll on you, probably mentally and physically, and 2020, when he probably sat at home like we all did and did his work from there and realized that, hey, I can do this without having to travel everywhere. I think that's a point where you're like, I'm done. I'm done doing this. So I did some digging here and there, and of course, this is very different from what the gaming sites are saying, which just makes me not trust them a little more.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's basically just saying that he's tired. It's time for him to hang it up. And the fact that they've got an interim CEO makes me think that this was probably something that he made a decision on recently. So yeah, I don't think, unless something else pops up, I don't think there's a deeper story here. I don't think it's but we'll talk a little bit more about Sony later. But as far as that, yeah, it's he's out. He's good to go. So
All right. Yeah. Well,
thanks for the price gouging.
yeah. I mean, despite our opinions on him as, like, I guess his personality, he's done a lot for the brand to really kind of keep it up, or like keep the momentum. So
Or did he? I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's questionable. I mean, it's just depends on how you look at it. I mean, he did raise prices. He did, personally try to keep the Activision deal from going through, and some think that might be why he's on his way out, is because that's getting finalized.
I've heard that too.
And yeah, the higher ups at Sony are like, that shouldn't have happened. But honestly, I don't really know what he could have done. I mean, everybody had their own reservations about it, but when it comes down to it, it's it's not their decision.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. I assume part of this initiative with live services is doing. So let's see if that pans out, right?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
I want to tease. I want to tease this a little bit. I feel like everyone says Jim Ryan did great because PlayStation's doing great. It does seem like choices to have a 5 to 6 year to 7 year impact. So the choices that he made, we're really going to start seeing the fruits of them. I think starting with Concord in 2024.
Yeah.
Like that's the first one where he purchased them in 2018. Sounds like because he was excited about the project. So that's like, to me, that's like the kickoff of Jim Ryan's actual tenure, or it's of what how we can start judging him, right?
It's his little investment,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It seems like they have, as far as being a CEO, they only have a couple of years to kind of get that in before they. I know Jack Tretton also retired after being CEO and launching the PS4. And yeah, you're right. We probably won't see what he's put in place till after he's gone.
Right. I will say, compared to what Sean Layden, I don't think Sean Layden really grew PlayStation Studios. Like Jim Ryan bought like 8 to 10 studios, so it sounds like he had more action. Now, would Sean Layden have done that if the market was different? Probably, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't really think Jim Ryan's like, we got to buy, and Sean Layden's like, no, we should stay put, right?
Yeah.
But we'll be talking about that more at the end of the podcast, right?
Yeah. But a lot, some of these other websites, like BBC and stuff, that said that the people that were asked about him, his colleagues and other employees, said that he was really great to work with, and they hate to see him leave. So that says, a little bit about him as a CEO and as a person. He seems to be, I've made jokes before that I feel like he's a, like a drug lord in a Guy Ritchie movie. That's how he comes off to me, but. But yeah, I mean, if his employees liked him and everything's good, so that's passing of the torch. Having an interim CEO, with a Japanese company, I think that's more like you are now you're now the face of Sony till we figure out what we're gonna do. So just sit there and shut up. Don't do anything.
This is kind of similar to, was it Reggie leaving, right?
Yeah,
in a way?
Yeah. He kind of was like, okay, I'm good, I'm done. And then they, had to shuffle a little bit. And yeah, nothing was really done within that. So again, we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. And we'll have the same discussion, I'm sure, when Phil Spencer decides to, either retire or go do
retire.
Else.
How old is Phil right now? I think
Phil's in his 50s.
Okay.
He's not in his 60s. Everybody's saying, a lot of these gaming websites are saying that they're even getting his age wrong. They're saying he's like 53. And I'm like, he's not 53. And
Phil Spencer or Jim Ryan?
Jim Ryan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, he's not. And of course, BBC said he's 63. But when he leaves, he has a heck of a resume.
Yeah.
Taking Xbox from the worst position it's ever been and putting it into a much better position. I know Jim Ryan can't say the same because they really weren't in that position when he took over to begin with.
Yeah,
so
but Jim Ryan's been with the company since PS2.
He has,
at
right,
least.
right. But just thanks Jim Ryan for not running it into the ground.
I do want to say one thing to Jim Ryan because I know he does listen to the podcast.
He does. He comments a lot.
Jim Ryan, I hate to see you go, but I love to watch you leave.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was it for me this week.
All right. Thick, what about you? What was the news for you this week?
The news for me this week, we bring you a little VR news here and there. And big news this week is basically the announcement of the official announcement at MetaQuest or Meta Connect, they announced MetaQuest 3. They announced the price and just a couple of details. I'll just go through like a quick list of it. Basically, this headset's gonna be. It's not gonna be lighter from what I hear. It's just gonna be. I'm sorry if you guys can hear that. Can you guys hear that?
No.
Okay, good. So it's gonna be smaller, but it's not gonna be any lighter. I think it's gonna be around the same. So like but the fact that it's like thinner and closer to your face, like the forward balance is gonna be better.
It was better.
So it's comfort improvement. The default headbands better, like better distribution in the back. So overall comfort improvement. It's going to be AR. I think we already kind of knew this, but they don't seem to be using AR anymore. Everyone's starting to say mixed reality, so that might be the terminology going forward.
It's a better.
That's probably what
anyway.
Apple.
Yeah,
I do like that term. It sounds better.
I know people.
High
with mixed
resolution.
realities.
oh, the Windows one. Yeah.
No, just in their head. It's mixed reality.
Oh, that's true. That's true. High resolution, 90 hertz per second. The 90 hertz is the same as the Quest 2. Wider FOV, so like when you're when your eyes are kind of looking around in the headset, it's kind of like I think the PSVR 2 has a higher FOV too.
Yeah.
It was like 10% higher. I don't know if it was 80 to 90.
10 degrees higher from what I hear. Yeah,
so it'd be 90, I guess. Yeah.
I thought I've heard that one of the reasons why they actually don't want to keep that field of view very wide is because the wider you go, the more motion sickness users receive.
I could imagine that, especially when it's in your peripheral view.
Right.
Like I actually honestly like beyond just the reveal, there's been a lot of good like post like news about it, but I'll get into that in a little bit. So $500 starting price with 128 gigabytes. So that's the thing is, from what I see, is the games, like especially the bigger games, are gonna be like 50 gigabytes. Like I think it will come with a game bundle, Azur's Wrath 2, which is kind of like God of War game.
The Capcom game.
Maybe I probably said Asura's.
What am I thinking of? It's like God of War. It's like Capcom. He's like punching planets. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. It's the one that came on 360, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not that.
It's some God of War themed game in first person basically. They had it on the original Oculus, the cabled one, and then they never did anything for Quest. Now it's powerful enough. The Quest 3 is powerful enough to support it. It won't look as good still, but yeah. So the interesting thing I would say is it has.
Yeah, it's not Asura's Wrath. It is not. Thick is lying to us. Asura's Wrath only has one. It is the Capcom's game.
Yeah, I'm trying to read. It's something else. Okay.
Not a big deal. Not a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't want to
get out of the. Okay.
Yeah, I forget the name exactly, but yeah, I probably wrote it wrong when I wrote my notes. So.
Okay. Continue.
Okay. Pancake lenses, which is thinner lenses. That's why it's thinner. It's getting Game Pass Cloud access. So you with AR, you can kind of project a big screen in front of you, kind of like a projector.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you can just hook up your controller, and then you can play Xbox Cloud gaming.
That's cool.
Now, I mean, they showed off some non-gaming things that they're doing with the AR. It's like you could watch an NBA game, and there's like highlights showing up on the side of like a bigger screen, similar to like projecting a TV as well. Just side note, but that's interesting. Maybe it'll apply to games eventually, if anything.
Asgard's Wrath.
Okay, there we go. Okay, thank you for correcting that. Okay. Now, the things that I find interesting afterwards is that there's hand tracking and leg tracking. Well, the leg tracking, and this is in the video I sent, like if you kind of look at it, like it is able to simulate your body movement to an extent. Not your legs completely, because that's like using AI, but because it kind of like, it has cameras that view out to the world, that's why you're able to do AR. It's using that to kind of track your hand movement, like where your elbows and everything are, and your leg movement to an extent. So like it's kind of like pushing towards that metaverse, and it's just adding probably a little bit more control to what you can do in VR games. Now, right now, I don't think this is really like kind of like we're at tech demo state. Like no one's implemented this properly as far as I know. I think there's a dodgeball game that they're releasing. But I mean, this is progress in this space. You know, we'll kind of see how it goes. Now there's this other demo he's been doing, like a Zuckerberg, and he's kind of showing more realistic looking avatars. And he has this on the Lex Friedman podcast.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
You saw that one?
Yeah, I did see that.
So like he's really kind of like pushing all this kind of metaverse stuff very subtly. He didn't say metaverse at all in the conference, by the way.
Really?
He just he just like it's all in
move.
like these. Yeah, it is definitely a good move, right? He's mostly doing these in these interviews, and he's kind of letting the product speak for himself right now, which I think is a better choice.
Scott, if you see the avatars in this interview, it's creepy good.
Really?
It's super well done. So what they do is, I think from your phone, maybe he said in the future it'll be from your phone. He scanned his face, Lex Friedman scanned his face, and then they talked to each other from across the country in VR, and it was like, what's like the top end of the video games in terms of facial like quality?
Last of Us, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe Last of Us. It's like it's that good, maybe better than that. Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's a far cry from what they showed
But
last
The first one where that funny meme. I know the one you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like you can imagine, maybe this has potentials for mocap in gaming too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
But yeah, it's really like not just the announcement of the headset. I'm probably not going to buy it anytime soon. I am tempted because I think it's better for people with glasses. Like the Quest 2,
really?
I can't fit my glasses completely in. I have to have like
Special.
I have an older, smaller pair that works, but it's like older prescription. The new one, like it won't. My glasses won't scrape as much, so that's why I might buy it. But I think I'll still hold off. I'm waiting for Black Friday. Maybe PSVR 2 will have a sale too. I don't know.
Ooh, yeah.
Probably not. All right.
Yeah.
Very nice. Any main takeaways from this story?
I mean,
Are you
think
guys
they did a better job than
Yeah.
PSVR 2.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how this one sells compared to the Quest 2, because I feel like the Quest 2 is like the VR psychos out there. I'll call what do they call the people in Cyberpunk who are like addicted to the getting upgrades? Like cyber psychos were they, or
Hyper psychos, I think.
something like that?
Something.
Yeah, I feel like there's VR people who are like, it's almost like a religion for them, right? So it'll be interesting to see, I guess, how the third quest does compared to the second quest, because this is their champion right now. This is their champion.
Do you think 500 is a fair price
for a standalone? For sure.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think so. Especially if it's something that you can just grab at Walmart. That's
right.
what's. I know Sony's trying to put that in that retail space. I haven't really seen one out in the wild yet. Have you guys seen one?
I have not seen it at all.
Yeah.
So.
No.
But I've seen plenty of quests. I mean, every time you go, to a Target or Walmart, there's a huge display, and they're right underneath it. You can just grab one.
Yeah, and I think they're going to continue selling Quest 2 at 300 for a while. So,
Oh, really?
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Was that your only news story this week, Vic, or do you have another one?
I do have one more, and it's another person leaving the gaming industry, and it is Hideki Kamiya. Now, this is he co-founded Platinum Games. He's part of Platinum Games right now, and he's going to be leaving like October 12th of this month. He has a 17-year tenure with the company. He's worked on and created games like Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, Okami, Beautiful Joe, Wonderful 101, and Scalebound, the late Scalebound. But I mean, he's kind of known for his kind of like brash nature on Twitter. You guys know his Twitter, right?
Oh, he blocks. Actually, do you guys know Mega? Do you guys know Mega 64? They're like they're a comedy group. They did an amazing one with this guy, because apparently he blocked them for doing something on Twitter, and then they do like a 10-minute skit where they fly out to him and he's in the skit. It was awesome. It was awesome what they did.
I should see it.
You should, yeah.
What was it? But I mean, he's not leaving the gaming industry. They there's with these people leaving, there's always negative, cynical speculations.
Yeah.
I really don't know, right? But I mean, it seems like Platinum hasn't had much hits lately. I feel like
What was their last hit?
Bayonetta 3, I guess. I don't feel like it
that's
was as good as 2. Like I
Really?
don't feel like it
I
delivered.
don't think it sold as well, did it?
I don't know. I mean, because it's on Switch too.
so it might have,
There's a
It
Switch
might
too?
have had that. No. It might have had that Switch tax bump in terms of
Yeah.
sales, but
Right.
I'm not sure. I feel like I don't hear anyone really talking about it, right?
It kind of came and
Like
went.
I want to say something. About that franchise. That main character is unappealing.
Her
Like a
head-
lady
I'm
in
okay.
latex.
It's a tiny
Lady in
head.
latex with like hair, and she's got nerd glasses. You know, I don't
think
know.
It probably hasn't aged as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the people that liked that are now married and
Yeah.
live in the suburbs.
Can't be playing
and
that
have
with the
gross-
kids in the room.
right.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it did. She didn't mature with her audience, I guess we could say.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
I think it took way too long to come out. Like this was
Yeah.
announced like in the very
A
first
long time
year?
ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
announced a long time ago, and then yeah, it just kind of
It,
dropped silently. I
it
feel.
seems like it was in the conversation when the Switch came out. Like
Yeah, exactly.
since it's like, oh, then this will be launching on the Switch, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's what happens. You take too long. You sit on
Yeah,
it.
yeah, and the thing is, Hideki did not actually work directly with that. He was more of like consultant, like kind of what Miyamoto's
Oh.
doing right now.
Right. Right.
So he's already kind of like going in the back. And actually, the interesting thing is like, I talk to my colleagues at work, and then like when you start to get senior, you kind of end up just being a consultant for a lot of
Really?
newer people. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
if you're like pretty like 10, 20 years with the company, people just consult with you, and that's really what you're doing at your job until you
Oh.
retire.
Not a bad
Well,
gig.
I mean,
Not a bad thing, yeah.
No.
Especially if you are, you've had a great career. Like, of course,
Right.
you're not going to go up to like someone that's been a lazy bum for 20 years. They're not
You're
going
right.
to consult with you.
right.
But in any case, I'm curious. Where do you guys think he's going to go? Is he going to pull a Kojima kind of thing, start his own studio? Probably not. I don't know.
I don't know how
see that.
how big that name is. I don't know if publishers are going to be fighting over him. I feel like Kojima had
Kojima
little
definitely
bit.
has more.
a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see. It'll be interesting. Do you know how old he is?
I would say either late 40s or 50s ish. I didn't check
Okay.
his age. But I mean,
Okay.
17 years is a while. So
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where he pops up next. And if you're listening to this, we will be the first to break that news.
Yeah,
Surely.
absolutely.
Surely when it happens. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to jump into my 2 news stories this week, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Capcom president Haruhiro Tsutimoto, I don't know if I said that right, I'm just going to move on, asserted that video game prices are too low, pointing to the massive increase in development costs and how game prices haven't risen at the same rate. He suggested that increasing the price of games would be a healthy option for the industry. Kotaku reports it was only a year ago that the era of $70 games really began, as numerous AAA releases like Gotham Knights and God of War Ragnarok began selling for $10 more than what players had come to expect. Now in 2023, around half of AAA games from large publishers have adopted the $70 price point. Yet Capcom is one of the few publishers that has abstained from raising prices thus far. It has continued to sell new games like Street Fighter VI at $60 instead of $70, but that might be changing. He goes on to say the development costs are about 100 times higher than during the Famicom era, which I thought was kind of a funny quote. Like that was like the late 80s, the Famicom era, right?
Yeah.
But software prices have not gone up that much, said Tsushimoto, referring to Nintendo's massively successful 8-bit console from the 80s. There's also a need to raise wages, considering the fact that wages are rising in the industry as a whole. I think that unit increase is a healthy option for business. Do either of you have a negative reaction to this?
Yes.
You do, Scott. Explain away.
No. They don't need to go up in price. I mean, that's I think that game companies need to figure out a way to make games with quality with less money, just like Hollywood did, and just like anybody else does.
Wait a second. Hollywood Has Hollywood done that?
Well, not with every movie, of course, but with
But I feel like in Hollywood, what's generating the revenue?
It's the
blockbusters.
sequels.
It's
the
the
sequels.
yeah,
Yeah.
But my point is that I forget the guy's name, but I just watched this. But it's one of the senior guys at Obsidian who helped make Outer Worlds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said that when he was making Outer Worlds, they had a large team. He wasn't used to having a large team, so he wanted to. He noticed that the AI was not being very aggressive. They were just yeah. It was just like, why aren't they shooting back? They're not doing anything. So it really just needed to be where if it saw an enemy, it would add that enemy to its list of attackers. That's all it is. He said like 10 lines of code. So he goes to one of the programmers. And he's like, hey, I needed you to write this and add this to the AI because it's, He's like, okay, give me like 2 weeks. He's like, 2 weeks?
I thought he said 4 weeks. He said 4 weeks.
He did. You're right. He did say 4 weeks. 4 weeks. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, what are you talking about? So he's like, this is just what I want. He said 4 weeks. And so he pressed it. And I guess one of the higher programmers came to him and he's like, well, what's the deal? And he even wrote it out for him. He's like, I need this 10 lines of code put in for the enemy. Yeah. He's like, well, I can't train somebody on your code. We can't take that and implement it into what we're doing. It's how about 2 weeks? He's like, 2 weeks? He said, I could do this in 45 minutes. He's like, you can do it, but our team can't. It's going to take 2 weeks.
Right.
And that was basically just a way to sum up the process of doing one thing in a game. And that to me looks like maybe there's too many people. Maybe that developer team is too big. Maybe you've got too many people doing too many things and you lose how to make something quality with less people. Indie developers do it every single day. We get games that are just beautiful and amazing. And I'm not saying they're on the same level, of course, of like, a AAA title. But they can be, Yeah. So for someone like that to go, prices are too cheap. How about you take a pay cut, buddy? How about you lower your salary, pay your developers more, which they probably already deserve it.
I'm going to say something about this, though, Scott. What? From what I understand, the CEOs, now I don't know if this is the CEO, this is the president, so, I don't know. So, apparently, the CEOs in Japan make way less money than the CEOs in America.
The CEOs in Japan are very good at being humble and cutting their own salaries.
I don't know. I don't know about this guy. Yeah.
Well.
But, I mean, I think it's fair to say that general cost overall is increasing.
It is general cost, but look at it this way. When the Famicom came out and a new game came out, how many copies of that game did they sell? Maybe, like 100,000 to maybe 500,000 was like a blowout? Now you're selling 10 million to 20 million copies of a game.
You hope.
If they are though, people. I mean, there's that many people buying those. Not maybe launch. We're not talking about launch, but we're talking about maybe over the course of How many people have bought Skyrim? I mean, come on.
Yeah, but if you look at Capcom's last 20 releases, I don't think the majority of those lifetime sales are over 10 million. I don't think the majority of them are. I think the people making those games are like, we're trying our freaking hardest.
It's not just them. There's higher competition too. It's not one or the other, right? Like this is all like it's a culmination of factors.
But this is an entertainment hobby. This is a hobby, and we're just basic entertainment, like a movie to some people. Yeah. Movie tickets were going up excessively. Through the 90s and early 2000s. And guess what happened? Nobody's going to the movie.
No one's going to the movies.
Yeah, because you get your kids, you go to the movie, you come out, you spent $150. That's not feasible for a family of four to do that, right?
Games should be free.
Games should be. Maybe they should make them free to play, and then you charge you for skins. But my point is that if you get to a point where the games are too expensive, people will find other things to do that are more affordable. And that's not just games. That's anything,
Can I do a rebuttal?
Dude, yeah.
All right. I'm the new president. I'm the interim president of Capcom right now. Here's what I say.
Okay.
We're officially announcing that our game prices have a ceiling of an infinite number of dollars.
Okay.
All of our games are not going to cost an infinite number of dollars, but they will be somewhere below that. So if we think we made an amazing game, we might charge you 120. We might charge you 312. We might charge you 60. We might charge you 90.
Okay.
It's up to you. It's up to the consumer to do the simple math in your head and say, is that price worth that game, right? And then here's what I'm going to try to alleviate some pain first, because I know Scott felt a lot of pain when I said that, right? I'm going to alleviate some of that
My
too.
wallet did.
If you notice over time, you do not have to purchase this game at launch. Over time, these game prices naturally come down. So if you only think a game is worth $60, Scott, just wait for it to hit that in a year or two.
Right, but how many people are going to do that? If you've got 5 million people that do that, then you're only selling 5 million copies out of that 10 at launch. Then you've got the publisher going, why are you selling? What this game is total? It's a catastrophe. We're not making any money on that.
Talk some sense into Scott.
I'm telling
you. I know you're the rational one.
You can't get to. There's a price ceiling for certain things.
No, I don't agree with that.
There is. You can't, because it's not maybe not for you. Like
for anybody. Look, Scott.
So I think
Go ahead.
with the prices increasing, different avenues to play the game will arise, and that's why we have subscription. Maybe we'll see rentals come back in a way. Like maybe that will be becoming part of the stores eventually. Yeah, or like the digital stores, right? Because like they're already doing 2-hour trials or whatever, right? So maybe that will be another avenue that developers will use.
Right.
Yeah, it just gets muddy, and it starts getting into economics, right? It gets out of that range of me, you, and Thick, being gamers. It goes back into economics. Why did they rent videotapes? Why did they rent VHS? Because movies then, to buy a VHS was like $70-$80. You bought a tape that was $70-$80. Nobody wanted to buy that movie for $70, but you could rent it for $5 and take it home and watch it, right? So once all of those were sold to all of the video stores, then a lot of them you didn't see any more money after that. But yet the video stores made money on them,
Yeah.
So
I guess I would ask Scott this. I was like, Scott, what's your is Skyrim one of your favorite games of all time?
Yes.
And now let's compare Skyrim and your price per value, your price per entertainment per dollar from Skyrim, and compare it to Cyberpunk 2077.
Okay.
I think that scale is not close for you, right?
No, it's not.
You love Skyrim way more than 2077.
Yes.
So I think these developers have to have some confidence in their product and say, you know what? We made one of the greatest games of all time in Skyrim. We're going to launch it at $100 as our minimum product. And then I think Scott is going to do his math, and he's going to say, oh, it's actually worth it because Skyrim's amazing.
Well, how much did I pay for Skyrim when it first came out?
50 or 60?
No.
How much?
I paid $150.
Oh,
I got the
full version.
I got the full version. Came in a box
Scott,
this big. Yeah.
You agree with me then? You agree with me, essentially.
I don't, because what did I get with that? The game was $60.
The game is the most important part.
The other stuff I got with it was an add-on. You're telling me that now you want me to pay $150 for just the game.
Yeah.
Scott, I didn't know that game. I was going to play that game for 12 years.
Scott, when you buy Captain Crunch cereal and there's a little cheap toy in the bottom, are you buying it for the beautiful crumbly peanut butter crunches, or are you buying it for the little train that you're going to lose 5 minutes after?
There's peanut butter in it?
There's peanut butter. There's synthetic peanut butter.
I thought you said Captain Crunch. Isn't that different? Okay. No, besides the point.
Let's get off the track. I see your point, but you got to look at it just from a individual's perspective. You can't look at it, and some people will pay whatever. You're right. Yeah. Some people will pay if it's $300 and they want to pay it. I mean, they want to play it. They'll pay $300. There's nothing to them to. But I think the people that buy these games in droves and drive the market are not those people. Those people are the ones that go to Walmart and if you put $300 on, say, the next Call of Duty, you're telling me that you're going to sell the exact same amount of copies.
No.
when it comes out.
First of all, I don't even think they care about the amount of copies sold. They just care about revenue, right?
Right.
So I think there's a chance, especially I think of GTA 6 with this because that game's going to be a huge title when it comes out.
Yeah.
If they launch that thing at $100 per whatever, they're going to lose a little bit of scales. But increasing your revenue by 30% on each copy sold, I think overall they would make that money back and more, right? And then Scott, if you really wanted to play GTA 6, wait a year. It's going to come down to $70.
Yeah.
You really want to play it? You pay for early access?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can see them doing that.
Because here's the issue that I feel like we're seeing. It's like a lot of these like really what succeeds in this single player game market, it's giant franchise games, right?
Yeah.
Like all these AA games are just wilting at the vine, right? So I feel like, what if a AA game was $50 and then GTA 6 was $100? I feel like the market would be okay with that.
GTA 6, you're probably right on that. Yeah. Now what they have to do is they have to sell you a $70 game and then a $20 skin.
That's what they're doing now, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the only difference is you don't have to buy that skin. It's not mandatory.
Right.
But $100 for a game is, if you want to play it, it's mandatory.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I can't believe this. Scott, you just bought Starfield early for a week at a higher price.
We did it for the podcast.
Hey, but I got stuff for it. I got
Yeah.
I got extras, and I got we had to be in the know. Now, had I not been on a podcast and been a huge fan of it,
maybe you wouldn't have.
Probably wouldn't have paid. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have paid that extra money.
Nick, I have a wand here. You can't see because it's a magic wand. I've instantly made you into Judge Judy. You've heard our case. Who just won the case? Me or the plaintiff, Scott? He's trying to think. He's trying to think. How do I snuggle on the fence? How do I snuggle on this fence here?
No comment.
Okay.
Come on.
All right.
Well,
Guys, I'm gonna move on.
That's why we do that. You need to see 2 points of view.
Yes,
So,
you do.
yeah.
You do. Yes.
Awesome.
And only one of them is of the right point of view, but we'll move on from that. News story number 2. Guys, I have another news story.
Okay, go ahead.
Wow. Okay.
According to Tim Big Daddy Sweeney, he wrote a letter that is worth reading on the podcast, okay? He says, "Hi, everyone. As we shared earlier, we are laying off around 16% of Epic employees. Apparently, that's around 870 people.
Yeah.
We're divesting Bandcamp and spinning off most of Super Awesome. For a while now, we've been spending way more money than we earn, investing in the next evolution of Epic and growing Fortnite as a metaverse-inspired ecosystem for creators. I had long been optimistic that we would power through this transition without layoffs, but in retrospect, I see this was unrealistic. While Fortnite is starting to grow again..." Unreal, that's right.
Yeah.
Now, you just stepped on the most important line, so I'm going to reread the line, all right? While Fortnite is starting to grow again, all right? The growth is driven primarily by creator content with significant revenue sharing, and this is a lower margin business than we had when Fortnite Battle Royale first took off. Success with the creator ecosystem is a great achievement, but it means a major structural change to our economics. Did you guys know that Fortnite had last month, less than 30 days ago, it had a concurrent player record? The most players that ever played one time was last month. You guys know that?
So what happened last month?
I think like Roblox, you know how Roblox just over years, it just turns into a monster? I think that's what's happening with Fortnite. I think Fortnite in 5 years is going to be bigger than it is today.
Unreal Roblox.
Unreal robots, yes. So I guess here's my question for you guys. Everyone's trying to drag Tim Big Daddy Sweeney through the mud, right? I guess he said maybe a year or two ago, he was like, he did some tweet like you shouldn't be laying off your employees because,
Yeah, if you're laying off people, you're mismanaging your business or something like that.
So people threw that in his face, which is deserving.
Yeah.
But I want to say something. I was listening to Jeff Grubb's podcast, and really what Jeff Grubb does all the time, whenever there's a high-ranking member in the media, he just tries to like mean girls the person, right? So he mean girls every like rich person there is because he's just like that's his personality.
Isn't that Paul Tassi too?
Well, it's a lot of people in gaming media who are just like, oh, they're wealthy, so I have to hate them. I have to try to drag them down, which I think is weird. I think it's weird personally, but whatever. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah. Here's what I was going. So he's trying to say like Tim Sweeney's like kind of a bad, immoral person.
Right.
All right. if you agree to that, don't you also have to agree to when Tim Sweeney grows his company to 5,000 people and he gives employees great salaries and benefits and all this other stuff? Don't you also have to say he is a benevolent and a great person? Like, I feel like it's like sides of a battery. Like, if there's a negative side of a battery, when you lay off people, you're a bad person. Mm-hmm. If you hire people, you're a good person.
Yeah.
I just feel like a Jeff Grubb type will never be like, no, you can't. He was doing it for selfish reasons, right?
Yeah.
But, am I speaking any sense right now, or is this crazy?
Well,
no. Yeah.
I agree. I mean, the general sentiment, like whenever our CEO even talks, people just get triggered, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, big business, they're $1 billion company. It's easy to it's so easy just to say that and just dismiss everything.
Easy. Yes. Peanut Gallery is a place to be for some people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it also not really so much what they do. We were talking about Jim Ryan earlier, and he's like beloved, and then Phil Spencer, is,
I don't.
What
you think Jim Ryan is beloved on the internet?
I'm from on Twitter. Let's just use that for an example.
I don't think that's
really.
But
what I see is this guy could set a puppy on fire, and they'd be like, yeah, he probably deserved it.
I think maybe you're confusing the internet with Nate, because I think maybe I would say that, but I just feel like the whole gas initiative is just people hate it on the internet.
Yeah, and a lot of people like Phil Spencer, and a lot of people hate Phil Spencer, and but yeah, they did some layoffs as well. They laid off a lot of people from 343.
Right.
That was probably part of his decision, to do that. Tim Sweeney is in kind of the same position. They have their own store. They make games, and we could look at that, and we can also look at Valve and his name just flew out of my head. Gabe Newell.
Right. Right.
People like these guys, and people hate these guys.
Right.
I don't understand why. Because, if
it's
these
the nature
guys,
of the position.
It is the nature of position, and they make decisions that directly affect you. Laying off people is a part of business, and it sucks.
Yeah.
And I know that, there's outside of Bobby Kotick, they probably hate signing that paperwork that says, hey, we need to lay off, these people. Because it doesn't mean growth. It means like we need, so for them, they're taking a hit. And they don't, it's not something that they like to do, but they have to do it, and it's business. But when they make a decision that seems to help or help the individual that is buying their product, then they're looked upon like, hey, they're great. They make a decision that ultimately screws up or costs more money for the customer.
Yeah.
They're hated, but all in all, it doesn't really matter, especially since they're going to be a temporary employee anyway.
Is it the nihilist or the nihilist? Nothing matters.
Well,
nihilism, nihilism.
When it comes to these companies, it really doesn't. Whether Tim Sweeney, Phil Spencer, if they're good people or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't.
Right, they're trying to grow their company.
And don't think that they're your buddy and they're like he gave us God of War 2. I love him. No, he didn't do that for you. He did that so he can make his wallet fatter, and grow the business and get a better bonus. But he may have also done it so his employees can get bonuses and have job security and things like that. So it's just, we don't know.
Yeah. All right.
So I try not to look at it. I'm just like, I don't like, I think rich people are out of touch, and I can't relate to them.
Yeah. And I feel like part of the reason why I'm kind of defending all these like bad, quote unquote bad people is just because like everyone in like gaming discourse is just like has that mindset like, we're just like down here throwing our mud. And I'm like, like one of my favorite, like, is it a poems or is it a speech? Is that like Teddy Roosevelt, like Man in the Arena, where it's like, the critics don't really matter. It's the people who are going in and like trying to figure life out, right?
Yeah.
So whenever I hear like, Jeff Grubb and his cohort are like, everyone's bad except us, I'm like, nah, you're probably just as bad as everyone else. It's like,
Yeah.
welcome to the human condition, right?
Yeah, Jeff Grubb is kind of feeding into just like a market. There's people
Right,
that
he is.
love this stuff, right? And then
Right.
they just that's
Yeah.
how he's getting his views.
Right. And
He's also doing it with rumors too, right? So
yeah, that's true. That's true. He is still a quality rumor mole, so we got to give him that. Guys, that was my news for this week. Do you want to quickly run down the rumors? We have a quick rumor section.
any by Jeff Grubb.
I don't think this week. No, he's been blacklisted he's been blacklisted by this outlet, the Supply Drop.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Tom Henderson, rumor number one. Tom Henderson reportedly really excited for Switch 2 and its tech. He says we'll see this in 10 to 12 to 18 months, launching on Series X, PS5, Switch 2, and PC a lot. He says that's coming, so be ready for it.
Wow.
Right. So I guess it's going to be around that power. I don't know how excited I am for that.
Did you hear? I'm curious. This might be another rumor we have, but like there's a rumor that Far Cry 7 will be a launch title on Switch 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Oh, that'd be good. I'd like that. Far Cry is my next rumor. So should we jump into that? Far Cry 7 details have leaked online according to Insider Gaming. Apparently, the story will be non-linear and it will center around rescuing the main character's family. The plot revolves around a wealthy family being kidnapped by a conspiracy group called the Sons of Truth. The game is based on a real 24-hour clock, so you have to save your family members in 24 real game hours. That's awesome, people.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Instead of having like 100-hour go to the top of this thing and open up a huge map. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it also what it does is it makes choices like, okay, time is now a factor in what choices I make, which I think is actually phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
4 hours.
And you're guaranteed a 24-hour play. And you can go do it again.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go do it again, right?
Yeah, I like this
so
idea. I like this a lot.
I like this a lot too.
Yeah.
Go on.
And it sounds like some family members can die, so you're maybe, oh my gosh, I only have 2 hours left. Who do I save? The rocket launcher family member or the helicopter family member? Who's you definitely know you're gonna get upgrades by unlocking these saving these family members, right? Yeah.
Who's got the jetpack? Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Apparently, there's also an interrogation mechanic where NPCs can lie to you, die, or tell you the truth, which I think is, potentially cool.
I hope this is good. I hope this is real.
I know, I do too.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is making me reminiscent of the original, what was that, Rainbow Six trailer back in like 360-ish, very early.
For Patriots?
Patriots, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is what it's reminding me. Like Sons of Truth sounds like a Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Like kind of name, yeah.
Right. Sounds like a Kojima name, like the Guns of the Patriots, Sons of Truth.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. They should just call it that. Good job.
Yeah, if this is the case, I'd be pretty excited. I mean, I like Far Cry already, and like just changing it up like this, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It does sound like they do say that menu navigation will not count towards your clock, so you can spend as much time as you want in your menu system.
If you're playing co-op, do you only get 12 hours?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Let's split up.
Rumor number 3. A leaker by the name of Chris Marks suggests that a reveal of GTA 6 is happening in the next few weeks, as soon as October 3rd, potentially. Scott, I know you're not excited about this game. Me, after playing Cyberpunk, I am excited about this game if one thing happens.
What's that?
And that's, if you dive into the GTA 6 Reddits, apparently the first GTA 3 was much more of a sandbox game.
Yes.
You could kind of accomplish missions the way you wanted to.
Yeah.
And then starting with GTA 4, they just linearized everything, and that's when I started hating it.
It became a PlayStation exclusive.
Yes. If they go back, and I think there's a chance they do, if they go back to that original chance, I wouldn't mind walking around a city trying to figure out how to solve missions using creative means, right?
And you know what that probably cuts down on mocap and the story elements, voice acting, cutting a little cost there,
Yeah.
So maybe that's a smarter way to do that. That sounds like more fun as well.
Yeah, and remember, Cyberpunk 2077, 32% completion rate. People don't like your game. They like buying your game. They don't like playing your game, right? Vic, I see you there. I
don't know if are we judging games by how many people complete them?
Yes, we are, because that means they enjoyed it enough to proceed to the end of the credits.
Okay.
Scott's like, I'm thrilled hearing that.
I'm thinking about all the games I didn't
Skyrim probably
finish.
has not been completed.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah. No. Honestly, I would say completion rate is semi-important, and then also just overall playtime, I think, is important. So if you spend 200 hours in Skyrim, I consider that a success, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's same thing with any. It's like if you're having a 2% completion rate, then how many? Yeah, when are people dropping out of that game? Like that would
Right.
probably be pretty quickly. Yeah.
Oh, and you know what else? Just because I know you guys are slightly resistant to this completion rate equals game quality, then let's just do this. Let's force game publishers to put on every box the completion rate for their games on the front. So you have to see the completion rate before you purchase it. If it doesn't matter,
How do they do that when it keeps changing?
oh, it's 2023. We can, it's online marketplaces. We can,
Yeah, like
we
Steam.
we use our Quest 3 to look at the box.
exactly, augmented reality. Yes.
Yeah.
But you know what? They won't, because they know it will deter players from purchasing.
There's a debate with that with Ubisoft games also. Microsoft,
What do you mean?
well, like if you click on the Microsoft store or the Xbox store and you look at a game, it actually gives you an estimate of how many hours it is to complete it.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it does. It does.
Right.
That.
So if you look at certain games, it's like 5 hours. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Steam does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you can judge, it's like how you want to, play this game or if you do want to purchase it. So Ubisoft seems to not be very truthful on like how many hours it takes to, like one game, like Valhalla might say like 30, right? But it's in actuality, it's 130, right?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so now we've got this new thing. If you start looking at it that way, then which games are being truthful or not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's another aspect too. I don't think that should we be looking at that when we make a purchase. Because you're always saying that too. It's like money versus hours of gameplay. That doesn't always. That doesn't always.
It doesn't
comply.
always.
Like that $70 for 200 crappy hours, or $70 for 10 really amazing hours.
I don't think people play a game for 200 hours if they feel their playtime is crappy. I think they move on to the next game. Like the moment they're like right now, my last 5 hours of Cyberpunk, I'm constantly like, I'm not having fun. This is I don't know why I'm playing this.
Yeah.
Right. It's truly a waste of time.
Yeah, you're probably not going to finish it.
No, because the last mission that I got to was like, okay, if you go through this point, there's no going back. Like we're in the final stretch. So I'm like, all right, I'll beat the game just to see the ending.
Yeah, you got about 50 hours left. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
I
No,
think
it's not
you're a
that
good
much, no.
distance, and I might just complete the story. I think
Yeah.
it's
Right.
decent enough.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right. Last rumor, and I don't even know if this is a rumor, but Hideo Kojima tweeted a picture of himself last week editing a trailer in CSI Miami with Horatio. Is it Horatio Kane? Found the words "state of play" were on his computer screen. Perhaps an October state of play is incoming.
That's pretty quick.
Did he take off his
I'd be curious.
sunglasses and?
But why would you be working on a trailer that says state of play if something wasn't coming up soon?
Wait, did it say state of play in a date and it said October, or
I
did
think
it
just
say
the
state
words.
of play?
I think just the word state of play were on it.
That's
I didn't see the
That's all
picture
it has
myself.
to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're going to have another state of play. Maybe.
Maybe. I do know most of the state of plays happen every like 3 to 4 months. There's
Yeah.
been a couple times where one happened a month later. So it's not on.
It's usually the small game-based ones, right? Like like Horizon had their own state of play.
right, like a 15-minute one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could this
All
just be Spider-Man, but before it launches, having a state of play and maybe a couple of little?
I think didn't they already have a very comprehensive one during
I
the
guess
last
I guess they had the gameplay reveal, and I don't think
And also,
they probably wouldn't do that for a sequel.
Scott, I think we have to remember Hideo Kojima is making Death Stranding 2. I think it's a Death Stranding 2 trailer, right?
Yeah, well, I'm not saying solely like if they have a state of play, it may be.
Oh, what else would they have with it?
Right. Now
okay,
for his, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be. It could be a 15-minute trailer doc.
You know
what do
what?
you call it? Docu-clip or whatever.
If they did a 15-minute deep dive and then they said, hey, November 2024, I think that would go over well.
Yeah.
I think it would go over well.
Yeah.
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 They need that right now.
Guys, let's get to our big talk.
Okay.
The biggest.
Let's do it.
The biggest.
Let's do it.
I'm going to burn Drayson Schreier with this one, all right? I'm coming after him. And then I'm going to block him on Twitter.
He blocked me.
He blocks everybody.
He does. I mean, I don't even need that's. How does anybody see his tweets if he keeps blocking everybody?
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, this one's mine this week, and this is one that. Well, I think it's time to discuss this. What's going on at Sony?
Mm-hmm.
Not, and I don't mean that in like a rumor way, but we have to look at what is going on at Sony and kind of figure out what their plan is. So right now, as of 2024, I'm looking at the lineup, and there's no real first-party exclusives for 2024 that we know of. Now, this is coming from Sony that usually shows things 3 years out and shows them every year until they're released. We're not really seeing anything. We've got we got a bunch of third-party, some second-party, nothing first-party. Jim Ryan is leaving. And let's see, and of course we just had a group that is supposedly has got a lot of customer information from Sony, not just PlayStation, and is not holding it for ransom, but is telling everybody that they're going to sell it. Which seems like why wouldn't you just sell it? But all of these things kind of are happening at the end of this year. We're going into October. Yes, we may have another state of play, but what do you guys think is going on? What are they doing? It just seems like there's crickets.
I feel like I know, but I want to hear Thick. I want to hear Thick.
Go ahead,
his
Thick.
response.
I feel like I have less idea more than you guys, so I feel like you guys should go first. But I want to add that there's a lot of studios we don't know what they're kind of doing. I feel like Ben Studios, that did Days Gone, don't know what they're doing. We haven't really seen much of Concord, right? That seems like
that is a 2024.
Out.
That's a 2024 title.
2024,
according to the trailer.
Yeah. I mean, Housemarque is done with Returnal, so they're probably working on something else.
Right. Yeah, but that was 3 years ago, right? That was a launch title.
Yeah.
Launch year, maybe. Launch year. I don't think it was a launch title.
Launch year. Okay. So 3 years is not enough.
Yeah, and Insomniac continues to kind of carry Sony right now. They've been keeping them afloat in a way. Guerrilla Games, what was it? Horizon PC.
They are also supposed to be working on something first person, which is a rumor. It's
the Horizon devs?
Yes.
Who? Okay.
And of course, these are the guys that made Killzone. So everybody's hoping it's Killzone. But again, we don't have confirmation. We don't have confirmation on that for 2024. We don't have confirmation on really anything. The major studios have just released. We got Insomniac is just about to release Spider-Man 2. We've got Santa Monica, just released their big game last November.
That's year,
right.
Yeah. So, I mean, we can't really expect anything from them. Maybe some DLC for God of War Ragnarok. I guess it's possible. But sources are saying that we won't see Wolverine next year. That'll be...
That's kind of a bummer.
That'll be maybe 2 more years out. So it just seems like it's, we a lot of people give Microsoft a bunch of flack for not showing their cards or showing it too early or not having any games but here we're going into 2024. If, where's the games?
Yeah, I feel like people are too busy fawning over, was it Final Fantasy Rebirth? But if you're not interested in that, it's just
right.
There's not much else.
Yeah, and that's a is that an exclusive? That's an exclusive for now, right?
That's all we know.
And it's not
there's
first
no
party, right?
I thought word came out that said it was a 3-month console exclusive, which I don't know if
console,
that's
and then we'll get PC. No word on Xbox right now.
Okay. All right.
That may come later. They're obviously signing some deals with Square Enix.
And possibly Nintendo, right?
And possibly Nintendo.
Scott, I know what's happening at Sony. You want me to tell you?
Yeah, let's speculate.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Games take at minimum now 5 years to make.
Yes.
So if you're making Spider-Man, the next Spider-Man, which is basically a slightly prettier, slightly sanded version of the original Spider-Man, you're going to take 5 years.
Right.
If you're creating a new game, move it to 7 years.
Yeah.
It just takes longer to like create a new idea from the ground up, right? So what I think is happening is PlayStation has 17 studios, and if you look at each one, there's just not. It's like we're in a drought.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think there's anything too exciting to say. I do know. I think it was sometime in the last year. I don't know if it was Jim Ryan who said this, but they were saying, we want to do 1 to 2 big titles per year, like tentpole titles. And I'm like, well, if your aim is to do 1 to 2, your light years are going to be 0 to 1, and your heavy years are going to be 2 to 3, right? So it feels like they're in an extended drought. They're in a light year,
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like they've just finished. Was it phase 1 of PS5, and then maybe this is a product of COVID work-related delays.
Could be.
There's a lot of studios I am interested in seeing what they're doing. Like I mentioned, Ben Studio, Team Sobi, who seems to be kind of like this, I guess, underdog almost. I mean, they're pretty well loved, but we don't know what they're doing either. They did Astro's Playroom, right?
Right.
And I feel like they've done other platformers before.
Right. Yeah. But again, it's like if they're doing a follow-up to Astro's Playroom, when did Astro's not Playroom, but what was their first Rescue Mission, right? That was the first
Mission, yeah.
That was the quote-unquote Mario 64 moment of VR. It was not.
Yeah.
It was not the Mario 64 moment. But again, if that didn't come out, it came out what, 3 years ago?
A while ago, yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think that they're ready to announce anything right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like Team Asobi games aren't really like 5-year
not big
dev cycles.
You could be right. I guess it just depends. Like,
studio?
It's not a big studio.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's around 100 people. But I will say this, the 2 Astro games that came out, they did compare to like a Mario title in terms of polish.
Yeah.
And quality to a certain extent. So what if they're saying Mario Odyssey, went huge for the Switch when it came out?
Yeah.
Let's do our version of Mario Odyssey, which means like a platformer that's actually ambitious, right? A big AAA platformer.
Yeah.
So if they're doing that, then it's like, okay, it's going to take them 6.5 years to make. Now, Scott, are you going to get into this Jason Schreier article, aka a Paul Tassi article?
Go ahead.
All right, I have a couple of quotes that I think it's safe to say that we can stop saying that Jason Schreier is a good journalist, right? Because he's just writing, as Thick put beautifully one point.
Yeah,
he's just doing Reddit posts and gussing them up a little bit for an article.
He's tassing it up. Yeah,
he's tassing it up. I have 2 quotes from his newest article. I think the newest article was something about like, there's concern about. People are cheering Jim Ryan's departure. Why are gamers cheering it, or something like that?
Yeah.
2 quotes I want to bring up here. One is this quote: "But it took Bungie decades to develop the teams, technology, and production pipelines that have made Destiny successful. And even so, they had some serious growing pains along the way. Even Bungie's expertise has not yet been able to turn PlayStation Studios into a service game factory." Bungie just got purchased, a year ago?
Yes, it wasn't that long ago. So.
Oh my gosh, they haven't turned around the whole production? Jason Schreier, you're brilliant. You're a brilliant person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and what are you turning around? I mean, they've just announced some games of service games. It's not like they're out and they're not doing well.
Right.
Like, yeah.
It's awful. This is awful.
Yeah.
The other one I wanted to bring up was... he says, quote, "A few years ago, service games were the hottest thing in the industry, but now even the sensational Fortnite isn't making as much money as it once did. This bet on multiplayer games may not pay off the way Ryan and his team had hoped." He's painting a picture like, guys, the multiplayer thing is like it's like over.
Yeah. Oh, it only made $1 trillion. I mean, it's not making $1 trillion anymore.
Right.
What is? I mean, this sounds to me like he's one of those people that the only games you should be playing is Sony exclusive single player over the shoulder.
Well,
bow and arrow simulators, and everything else is garbage. That seems like the perspective he's coming from, right?
But do you remember? I think it was like a couple of years ago. He did an article saying, "Oh, people within PlayStation are concerned about PlayStation's AAA focus." Do you remember that article?
Sounds familiar.
I try not to remember his stuff.
It's literally like obviously there's limited resources, so you have to choose a route. You can't just do everything at 10, right? So all he does is look at the puzzle, and he sees where they're going to 10 and then where they're going to 3, and he's like, oh, concerned about the 3.
Yeah.
Like it's just like
it's concern trolling, basically.
It's concern trolling, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like when I see articles like that, I'm like, oh, I can't wait until ChatGPT takes all their jobs. You know what I mean? Because it's like we should be aspiring to actually like educate people, right, to a certain extent, or have like a truth in our reporting.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm here for the clicks.
Yeah.
These are editorials, not news, right?
I think the internet in general has just ruined journalism. Period.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no journalism. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, even if you go to YouTube and
just look at the thumbnails. All you gotta do is look at the thumbnails.
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly. So it's again, I think he's just coming from. He's just feeding that, that concept
cycle.
of Sony is doing this and they need to do this, and this is the only way that gaming should be. So if nobody, if everybody's not doing what Sony is doing right now, then they're failing, and that is just the dumbest, uneducated way of looking at gaming.
You know what's the old media expression? If it bleeds, it leads. Like it's just like panic. Panic is what sells newspapers.
Yeah.
And it's like if you think about like, and this goes to all media. If you think about, can you imagine a newspaper is like, oh, everything was pretty okay today. Like if that's the headline, like nothing horrible happened, no one would buy the paper, right?
Right.
Exactly.
So.
I mean, it makes me think you can go to the grocery store and take a picture of like one tomato in a thing, of tomatoes, and there's like one left, and you can take a picture of it and go and say like famine coming or food supply halted, and just put that on the internet, and people will just start going to the store in droves, like stocking up on stuff. That's what we see in gaming, and I it's hard, especially for us, because we want to look at these things in a more educated, civil, point of view, as being the people that actually buy this stuff and play this stuff, and
Right.
But man, it's just getting harder and harder to sift through what is a real story and what is just a bunch of garbage to get people to your site. And I'm not finding a line anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why, for this article, for my news, I went to Business Insider and BBC to get something that was
game industry.
News.
That biz is pretty good too.
Yeah, they're pretty good
true.
for now.
For now,
right.
So it's really hard to do, and it's, especially with Sony. I looked at this as I didn't go to Reddit. I didn't try to read a lot into it. I just wanted to kind of get the information and bring it to us and just discuss it and feel like go over what we think is going on, and not look at the eco scope of what is PlayStation. I don't think anything's bad happening, but I think just to sum it all up, we're seeing that they have invested in live game services, and they're not out yet, and they don't know if it's going to pay off. And I'm pretty sure that whatever Naughty Dog is working on is taking way longer than they thought, and it's probably something that they thought was going to be out already.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's really all that's going on. I think that they're getting smarter and not showing these games so early.
Yeah.
And then showing them again at every E3 until it's released, and people are like, "Come on, man!"
You know, it is funny. So like the Series X was revealed using a trailer for Hellblade 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
So was that
Revealed?
2020? What's that?
Yeah.
Was it?
It,
I thought it was just.
it was one of the early trailers.
It was like I
being
felt like
shown.
it was their debut trailer saying like look at what this thing can do.
This it was.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see what you're
Hellblade
saying. Yeah, not the reveal of the Xbox Series X, but the
Thought it was close to that, but maybe I'm wrong.
It's
It was
around that. It's definitely around that.
yeah.
yeah.
But my question for you is, do you prefer that, we're actually just going to show something? Like, we don't care if we're a year into development, we'll show you what we're working on.
I mean, like
or
just
do
a
you,
title screen, like
or-
Metro
or
Prime
do-
4.
Well, I guess worst case scenario is Metro Prime 4, but best case scenario it's more like Hellblade. Like that Hellblade trailer got people excited, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now we're, moving into 2024. Hopefully it releases in 2024.
Yeah.
There's two routes you can take. Which route, as a consumer, as a player, do you like? Like announcing a game a year before release or announcing it 4 years before release?
Oh, definitely a year.
You do
Within a
like that
year.
better?
Yeah.
Really?
As a consumer, yeah, it's like I mean, Fallout 4. That's probably like the best one, right? Like that got
That was
everyone excited. It was announced like in E3,
Yeah,
and we
came
got
out in
it November.
Yeah, they did
Right.
the same with Skyrim.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, it
Apex-
wasn't. Yeah. Oh, Apex Legends.
Apex Legends
Shadow
also
dropped.
had like
Yeah.
a week of hype. It seemed like, and then
No, it
yeah.
leaked.
It just
It leaked.
just
That's
came
what
out.
it did.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
they were going to
It came
shadow
out
drop it on.
nowhere. Yeah.
But the week of leaks was very exciting.
It
I
was.
remember because everyone was talking about that.
It's like it's coming out Monday. I'm like, what? What is?
Right.
And then bam,
Right.
it came out Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
those are
mean-
great. I mean, I like the. I think hype works better in shorter spurts. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't allow it to fester, right? Like
Right.
kind of like how was it No Man's Sky festered? I never
No.
understood the hype. No, it
No
festered.
Man's Sky. It did a great job. I feel like it got people excited though. I don't think
Yeah.
No Man's Sky was ever at the point where people are like, "Stop showing us that game."
No,
We're
no,
sick
no,
of
no,
it."
no. You don't know what I mean by fester, I guess.
Okay,
By
okay.
fester is like people are just talking about it. They're they're building up their
In a
expectations.
good way. In a good way.
No, I don't.
like beyond what
I-
the game is.
Yeah,
Is that what
like
you're saying?
beyond what we should be expecting.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess when I hear Fester, I consider it like bad, and I think of what was that arcane game that came out on PS5 a while ago? It was Deathloop.
Yeah.
Deathloop was a game like when it first was revealed, okay, that's the new arcane game. Then they like hammered it into the public, and the last big trailer they showed, no one cared about it. Right? It like
yeah, because
it
it's
wilted.
like, oh look, another
Yeah.
Deathloop trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
like
that's
showed
kind
up.
of like Final Fantasy 16 as well to an extent. I got a
Right.
little tired of it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I guess last thing I want to ask you guys, let's go down the panel. Let's grade Jim Ryan's tenure. Well, how do you guys think he did? I think we're all on the same page that you really can't grade him until maybe 5 years from now.
Yeah.
We'll be able to grade him.
Are we talking about his full career or just like?
I would
his-
say as
as-
in his
as
position.
CEO, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was CEO since what? 2019,
18, I thought. Or
something like that.
I thought it was
that's close
18.
enough.
Yeah.
Early 18, yeah.
Yeah.
Thick, what's your vibe, your grade? Did you feel like he made good choices overall for the long-term health of the brand, or do you feel like he fumbled a little bit?
PlayStation Portal, just throwing that out there.
PlayStation Portal.
By the way, PlayStation Portal sold out everywhere in Japan. Can't get it anywhere right now.
That is the
Well,
market for
that-
portable
That's the market.
gaming.
That doesn't mean anything if you don't
I
have
mean
a number
something.
tied. It doesn't. If there are
You know
only
what?
4
You're
of
right.
them, they sold out
You're
of
right.
4
That's
of
true.
them. That means
That is
they
true.
sold
Yeah.
4. So keep that in mind. I mean, this might
Yeah.
be limited supply. So
You should
Right.
pick one up, Scott, with your shiny new PS5.
I should do that, but I'm not.
Uh-huh.
No, I'm not going to spend money on that. No.
Okay. Let's go back to the grading. Like part of me feel it's a little bit hard to say because I do feel like the fruits of his endeavor will only
Right.
show up in the next couple of years, and I think we already
Right.
talked about that. I'd say B. Is it B?
Safe grade, Thick. Safe
Yeah.
grade. All right. And then, all right. So what do you think? Best decision he made? Worst decision he made?
Acquiring Bungie. I think that's
Was the
probably
best?
Yeah, just for
Okay.
their live service.
The Center of Excellence.
Right now. Yeah.
The Center of Excellence. Yeah. Okay. And then what's his worst? What's the blemish on his record?
Being a jerk to people. I don't know.
Okay. The emails. The emails was the worst.
Line.
Yeah, maybe the acquisition, but I mean, I don't blame him. He's a CEO. He's got to be cutthroat to an extent.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. All right. Scott. What about you? Give us your grade. Be honest.
I would say a C. I would say a C. I mean, he did launch a very successful console, but some of the decisions afterwards, I don't think the console wasn't ready to launch. It didn't have basic features until up to a year after launch. It didn't even have 1440p. It didn't launch with external hard drive space.
Yeah.
It didn't launch with extra storage. I mean, people forget that.
I want to jump in so bad right now.
Well, I'm saying it didn't have it. Now it does have a very good solution. It's a lot cheaper, but yeah, some of the decisions that he made, I don't agree with, and I don't think he really was in touch with what his customers wanted. With especially when saying, "Why would you want to play an old game?" That to me sounds like somebody that is just pushing forward and knows like, oh, here's the latest, greatest, newest. This is what you want. Not really knowing what people wanted with that.
Yeah, I downgraded to B-. I agree with that.
Oh my God.
You forgot about that, didn't you?
I didn't forget about it, but I forgot like the exact details until you started bringing it up.
Price increase. Which is, not necessarily his doing, but it does fall under his CEO-ism.
Right.
So, yeah, and as far as, like, his best decision, I would agree. I agree with buying Bungie. His worst decision is how much he paid. So I just don't think that was – I think that should have been negotiated for a lot less, even though he thinks that will get him $65 billion later.
Right.
We'll see.
Yeah, that's
see.
a huge gamble. That's a really huge gamble. So, but yeah. So
all right,
rip it apart.
I'm gonna give Jim Ryan a grade, and simultaneously I'm going to attack Scott.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna give Jim Big Daddy Ryan an A+.
Ooh,
A+.
Wow.
S+.
Really?
Yeah. Could not be happier with the tenure of Big Daddy Ryan. Okay.
Really? Wow.
If you are listening to this podcast and you rewind 5 minutes prior and you listen to all of Scott's critiques, none of them matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, they kind of mattered on the internet at the time when people were like, just, trying to whatever. No one remembers anything that Scott just said, right?
I know
Scott
they
remembers.
don't. They forget it. Yeah.
Right. The choices that he made that actually will be remembered, I think, were super smart choices, which is the gas push, the 60% gas, 40% traditional. I think that's like, I wish Sean Layden did it 5 years prior, 10 years prior.
Yeah, he should have.
One thing, do you think the PC initiative was his doing too?
I don't
know if it was his.
know.
I think it happened under his watch, so whatever happens under his watch.
I guess you can put it under there.
Yeah, I mean, because I think that's also one of the better decisions.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I will say,
absolutely.
I guess maybe I'm gonna downgrade my A+ to an A flat, because I do think the one thing everyone says, like, oh, for multiplayer games you need to have cross-platform play because the more players, the healthier your ecosystem. Same rule applies to AAA single-player games, right? What ends up happening is like what you do is you build hype for a big product and you try to get a huge amount of sales in the first week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The way you do that is you bring in that PC audience to also like, oh my gosh, like Spider-Man 2 is coming out. Like, that's exciting to like be part of that hype. Let's get us in there. I think what they did, like, oh, we're gonna release those titles a year or two down the road, is just like when all the hype is gone. It's like you're spending so many resources on something very tactical, practical, which is hyping the audience up, and you're wasting that expenditure.
I would argue that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And that's what they're doing.
No, AAA is not a marathon. AAA is a one-punch deal.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that. They're wasting marketing. They could release that on PC day one, and you have the same marketing, the same push, and probably have many more sales because of that momentum that you've created. with state of play and everything. Because then it makes state of play relevant to PC players.
To a bigger audience,
right?
Huge audience.
Look, there's a state of play. What am I going to be playing next year? Instead of when am I going to be playing this? I don't know when they're going to release it on PC.
This is regardless of the time frame, but I believe this does do more of a sprint type. Well, sorry, no, more of a marathon type hype for them, because like once it releases, regardless, say
You're
if they
saying
both
there's
release
more of a
yeah, like they release simultaneously, they'll get that front load, but then
it
kind of right?
So it's almost like, if The Last of Us 3 comes out, to have a big kind of a mini push 6 months later, a year later, that's actually kind of smart. It's like rowing a boat that's let's get a few rows in.
They'll sell it for like still a higher price on PC. That's how they're making their money back for a single player one-time purchase.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. I think really the only critique against it is I think the reason why they do it is because they're afraid of losing a PS5 audience. They're afraid of losing.
I agree with that. I mean, I think that's part of their
business
strategy.
to sell the console.
Right. And for me, I think there's just console gamers and I think there's PC gamers. And I don't think there's a ton of people like Scott who are like, I'm kind of threading the needle. Like I can go both ways.
Yeah.
I can, but I play exclusively on PC. So anything that comes out on PlayStation, I'm not excited about it. Because for one, if I am, I have no idea when I'm going to get to play it. And two, a lot of the games that they make that are exclusive, I'm not really into. I'm not into, a big open world narrative single player, hold my hand through the whole thing experience. And I think a lot of PC players are like that. I think that's the reason they're on PC, is because there's much more variety and less of that AAA hand-holding, for the masses kind of gameplay. At the same time, though, I think that with that marketing, I think that reiterates them, day one on PC. You're not going to convince somebody with a $5,000 PC to go buy a PS5. They will wait.
Right.
We wait.
Right.
When something comes out, and Nate, you were talking about this earlier, I'm going to wait till that $170 game gets down to $70. That's what we do. Because the prices drop on PC a lot faster and more frequently than they do on console.
Right.
So to get that day one, like Spider-Man 2 on PC and PS5 day one, from my standpoint, I think that is a win for everybody. And I think they would sell more of it with that momentum.
We may see this in the future where they'll do simultaneous release, but they want to go with this strategy for a little bit.
Somebody's telling them you got to sell this many PS5s, and that's why they think they're going to do it. So, and I get that, but they don't. They're just kind of feeling. They're just kind of getting into PC market, and they'll figure it out. They'll figure out what they want.
Right.
It just may take them a year or two.
I guess they're dipping their toes in, going in slowly.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, since we're our focus is kind of like the future of PlayStation. Sony. I do think that they're gonna start pushing more on PC eventually, and that could be that could be the thing with simultaneous release. I feel like they'll probably have some sort of app, probably kind of like Xbox, right? Where you could play cloud, right? Yeah.
Like one thing I wanted to mention on between Xbox and PlayStation is like if we play with other people and we get on Discord, the Discord app is on the Xbox, and you just go to the Discord app and you start a server, or just get on your server and everybody joins it. PlayStation doesn't have that. You have to actually use the Discord app on your phone and sync it with your PlayStation as you're playing. Or before you set up a party, and there's a lot involved to do that, and it's not very intuitive. And to tell somebody how to do that just so you can cross play with them is it's not fun at all.
Right.
So those things I think that they need to going forward they need to really streamline, and they really need to recognize how to do that and how to play with other people, because that is where the market is going. And I hope they do that a little bit better.
I just thought of one more potential reason, or it would be nice to see that what is the excuse for the kind of the 1 to 2 year delay? Like a lot of these consoles, they do like kind of unique stuff that PC doesn't do. The architecture, like the I/O throughput with the PS5 and the SSD, it's kind of like a little unique. It wasn't just like a basic. This is a PC in a box, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, do you remember like Mark Cerny was like talking about like actually our level design is actually going to be able to be a whole new way of creating games because of this SSD. You're going to be able to load in assets quicker than you would in traditional. If that was actually true, and I don't know yet because we haven't seen a ton of PS5 built from the ground up games.
Yeah.
If that is true, then I understand like, okay, we're making a game specifically for this unique box.
We do wait. We do know Ratchet and Clank was
Right.
Rift, right?
And I actually think that, granted, it's just one game, so you really have to see a suite of games before you can really judge it. But I think maybe if that game came out simultaneously on PC, maybe it doesn't perform that good because not a lot of people had SSDs at that time, right?
Yeah, it had to be ported.
Right. So I think that's, if we start seeing actually unique games on it, then it's like, okay, I'm cool with that, not coming to PC for a while, right?
Yeah.
But
if it gives you a reason to have that PS5 to play that game.
Right.
But right now, I mean, just using like Spider-Man Miles Morales as an example, I'm playing that game at 1440p at 130 frames per second with everything turned to high.
Yeah.
And it looks good. I mean, it looks not the best looking game, but it's very, very smooth and it's very great. You can't do that on a PS5. It just won't do it.
I guess that game wasn't built for that SSD, that special architecture, right?
Yeah, nothing that they have. Anything that is also on PS4 is not going to be written exclusively for that. We're just now seeing that, but at the same time, since that's come out, PCs have gotten faster, SSDs have gotten faster. You can play Ratchet Clank faster, loading times on a PC now than you can on a PS5. So the problem is the architecture. It's never going to catch up with PC because PC can change, at any given time.
Yeah.
They're not locked into something that they're going to be using for 7 or 8 years. And that's what you pay for. That's why it's cheaper because it's a locked-in architecture. That doesn't mean anything's wrong with that. You're just not going to get that performance. So that's we're not going to see those things until the end of the PS5. That's when we get our best games. Is at the end of that cycle. When studios come in and go, man, we've been working with this for this dev kit for almost 10 years now. We squeeze every bit of power out of it.
Right.
And then we get those games that are like, I cannot believe this is on a console. But we have to wait for them. So
yeah. Well, so it sounds like the official grade of the Supply Drop podcast for Jim Big Daddy Ryan is A+. That's the official.
Yeah,
right?
I guess so, man.
I guess so.
Well done. Yeah, we'll be emailing him that plaque because that's a high honor to receive that grade by such a all three of us. We don't always agree at the same time.
Yeah.
Cut his mic. Yeah.
No,
guys, I think
ahead.
What Scott, did that do it for the show?
Yeah, that did it for the show. I just want to say, Jim did a good job. He did it all right.
Well, he'll be around for a couple more months.
Scott's talking about launch resolutions of games that was crazy. That was truly a crazy segment from Scott.
Well, I kind of went out there. But.
Yeah. All right. Scott, tell people how to interact with us.
Please leave us a comment down below. It's YouTube. It's comment section. You've done this before. Just say hi. Yeah. Give us something to talk about. What do you think? Grade Jim Ryan's Reign and put it down at the bottom. And, of course, we are on audio. We're on Spotify and Apple, wherever you get podcasts. We're on there as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we also what sets us apart is our timestamps. We timestamp our episodes.
Yes.
So if you don't want to listen to us every week, and we do it so consistently.
Yeah.
That's right.
Every week. Yeah.
And another thing that sets us apart from other podcasts, we have a spiritual guru on this show, and his name is Thick. And he tries to teach us a little life lesson.
All right. Well, ready for a lesson this week?
Yeah,
I'm ready.
All right. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Ooh, I love that one.
Wow.
I love that one.
Yeah.
It's deep, man.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I'm going to get that tattooed. The ones I like, I'm going to get tattooed on my body as a memory to the...
On top of the Venom tattoo?
Yeah,
Well,
it's going to
Scott's
be in
getting
the
the
white
Venom stuff.
spider. There's plenty of room there in that.
There's room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scott looks like he's like in a prison, like one of those all tatted up guys. underneath those
I see
posters.
the bars on your window, Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really from the county jail. I'm just using this office.
That's right.
Yeah.
Scott committed unspeakable crimes, by the way.
Right.
He's in there for life.
I gave Jim Ryan a C.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next Monday.
All right.
All right. Bye, bye.